Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the Waipuna Halswell-Hornby-Riccarton Community Board Information Session and Workshop. For apologies, Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the Waipuna Halswell-Hornby-Riccarton Community Board Information Session and Workshop. For apologies, Good afternoon, everyone. Oh, it's a sorry. Great. Right. So, apologies. We got an apology from Andre. And then we have on Zoom Sarah Brunton, who represents Hornby. And Tyler's just come through, representing Riccarton. And so Debbie is not on. We will put her in as an apology. Right? Cool. And so that's all I've got. I haven't heard from others. So right, cool.
Hey guys. Hey Tyler.
Hello, Tyler. Hello. So we will move on to Ngapunawai Sports Hub Master Plan. Welcome, Helen, and if you'll introduce our guests.
I'll let the guests introduce themselves. They're from the Ngapunawai Trust.
Excellent.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you very much for giving us some time today. We really do appreciate you doing that.
Do you know everybody around the team?
It'd be lovely to have the introduction.
Right. Oh,
Helen Broughton, Riccarton.
Mark Peters, Councillor for Hornby.
Cody Cooper, Hornby.
And I'm Marie Polisco, Halswell.
Lovely. Thanks very much for giving us some time today. So as you'll be aware, the Ngapunawai Trust Board was formed as a result of the essentially a bunch of sports coming together after the Christchurch earthquakes. Ngapunawai is a unique facility in that it was dual funded by both the council and the five contributing sports, who have quite a bit of skin in the game in terms of the facility there. As a trust, we've been increasingly concerned over the last few years just about the lack of a cohesive master plan for Ngapunawai and the potential for sort of ad hoc decisions to be made that might things into the future that might negatively impact on the place in the future. We've sent that through the work that we've done, and hopefully you've had time to at least look it up. I apologise, it's rather large. I guess the first thing I'd like to say is what it's not. Okay, it's not a list of demands of this is what we want. Okay, it is more of a suggestion of could you look at this should something come across your table. Yeah, it is also not a fully consultative document either. So the people consulting in this plan were the five contributing what we call them founding sports, plus netball, who are kind of the new flatmate there. We've had a light touch from council staff and a light touch from ROPU. So it is not, hasn't had community consultation or anything like that. So just to be aware of what it is and what it isn't. Okay. So there is actually an existing phase 2 master plan for Ngapunawai that was created right at the beginning. And one of the first things we did was start with that as our sort of starting point and ask ourselves, is that still relevant today? And obviously, as time has gone on, things have changed, as they do, and needs have changed, and sports, what they require from the facility has changed. We managed to secure funding from Sport Canterbury, and we're really grateful for that, and engaged RSL Consulting, who are the original planners for Ngapunawai, so they had a really great in-depth knowledge of the park already. One of our goals here is for us to sort of just highlight what we believe, or what the people who contributed to the report believe is the kind of best bang for buck in terms of future investment in Ngapunawai, and where people who use the park every day see that resource should be going. Trust as a trust, we think there's great potential as well for increasing the community participation in the park as well, and opening up, things like play areas and barbecue areas and things like that, things to encourage the local people to use the park to a greater extent than they do right now. In terms of the future, there's obviously Ngapunawai North, which you've already discussed in this forum at least once that I'm aware of, because I was sitting over there, and also the linkages to CAP as well. So as a whole facility, as they've looked at a whole facility in the future of it, there's an awful lot of potential there. And I guess from our point of view, the lack of a coherent master plan is a bit of a concern with the potential that is there. So RSL engaged the major sports, and Curtis will go through some of the findings from there. And they came up with sort of 3 key areas of core infrastructure, recreational and community activation, and partner-focused sport enhancements. So at the current site, yes.
Is it on the slide?
Please scroll through. It should hopefully be on page. Go to page 4. That one will do.
This one?
Go back one. Yeah, go forward one if you can.
Forward.
Forward one.
That one there. There we go. So on the current site, we obviously have the athletics track, and in the original master plan, there's provision for a second warm-up track right next to it. There's hockey with provision for a 3rd turf there. There's rugby league, who have heavy usage on both the sand turf and in the community fields just above it. Tennis have a large presence. Netball was never part of any of the plans at any point, but that's very much part of the plan now. Very much a partner in the park and a heavy user of the park. The polo fields up to the left here, which aren't even on this map, they're kind of connecting between the park and the Punawai North. Those are currently being used as football grounds at the moment. And then, of course, we've got the hub complex in the middle with the cafe and the rooms and the offices and things like that. So in our consultation, we found that for some sports, things have changed since that initial master plan had come out and since that initial sort of phase 2 had come across. So hockey does want another turf. Absolutely, they want another turf, but not necessarily there. Their wish would be for it to be over on the east side of town, where they see the need is. Tennis is obviously really located strongly at Wilding Park. Punawai probably hasn't turned into what they thought it would be in terms of usage. And moving into the future, they've had some significant issues with wind at the facility there in terms of usability. So they, I think it's fair to say they're using it a lot less than perhaps they originally envisaged when they put the money in at the start. Rugby league. Now, rugby league has expanded beyond all expectations. It is huge in the city right now. And they have a real need for expansion of available minutes, playing time. So they're using the community fields, but obviously they're only good during daylight hours. Netball, they're finding it quite hard to meet the demand across the city that they have. And at times, I think it's difficult for them to work within the parameters of a shared park too, in terms of the way that they need to run their business model to make things successful. The potential for the polo fields, linkages to CAP, the Punawai North and the hub facility, they've all yet to reach their full potential. And parking and transport access has been an ongoing issue for the park since its inception and still continues to this day. Yep. Okay, I'm going to hand over to Curtis. Over to you, sir.
Thank you. Kia ora koutou. So I'll just talk through a little bit and I'll skip through a couple of slides on the screen here. Sorry, where am I going? There we go. It's going to go hard. I'll skip ahead a couple of slides into one more. There we go. What you see in terms of the concept. So the output of the sports partner review of what you're talking about today. And I just wanted to highlight that there, firstly, as you can see down the right-hand side in very small writing, there are a number of opportunities that have been identified through the review. Some of the color coding may help a little bit more, but what you can see is the yellow dots in there really a number, almost half of the 28 opportunities identified are really core infrastructure opportunities. So those would be things that you're investing in the facility for means more than just beyond a single sport or even a sports in and of itself. So those are things like parking, lighting upgrades, things that really scale the impact of any investment you wanted to make into the facility, and some of the things that James was talking about before. So another opportunity would be things like pathways and helping accessibility through the site during light hours and also in times where you don't have such good light as well. And even some of those opportunities that are listed throughout the concept there, whilst they are allocated as sports-focused initiatives, they would have broader benefits. So if you think about community field lighting, as James talked about, yes, there's a direct benefit for sports like rugby league. There are broader impacts and benefits to the community if there was to be investment through that as well. I'm not planning to go through all of the items specifically. I will touch on some that have been particularly well aligned between the sports partner review and also council, some of the feedback we've had to date. But just also to highlight that we have been able to engage council throughout the process. It has been helpful, particularly where we've been able to talk about areas of alignment between where the sports and the trust seeing as really higher priority items and where council agrees with some of that. And we absolutely recognise that there are elements through these opportunities that are more of a priority for the sports through this process and less potentially for the council. And that is, back to James's point, this is not a list of demands. This is an opportunity, really an asset, we believe, for council to pick up as part of future planning as well. So there are some areas that there's been really strong alignment, we think, between ourselves, sports and council. So a couple of those would be the intersection upgrade to the ring road. So if you get visually on the map, you see the athletics track, the top of the athletics track, and then the connection up to.
Do you mind pointing?
Can I use the pointer? Oh, yeah.
Screen?
That one will work.
Or you can just stand up and
Yeah.
point.
Oh, okay. Yeah. James, my able assistant, go on, point it. But really building on the upgrades through Wigram Road, another opportunity to unlock and debottleneck some of the access around the site would be one opportunity there for sure, which has broader benefit to the site, not for sports. Certainly increasing windbreak protection around the athletics track in particular, but even if you extend that across the site through tennis, the nor'easter is a real challenge for sports out there, but also for community users who want to access and have a good time at the facility. Talked a lot about lighting, so lighting to the community fields, but also lighting around the site, some of the ring road parking and other areas to really increase safety, but also increase the utility of access would be areas there. And certainly improvements to parking arrangements, whether that's formalising some of the informal parking spaces across the side, some of the areas, or creating more opportunities for formal parking arrangements. We know, because we see the data and we hear from users, as you do, I'm sure as well, peak times on the site, it is a real challenge for people. In some ways, that's a good problem to have because you'd rather have that problem than no one using the site, but obviously there are opportunities to strengthen that moving forward as well. And I would also just like to highlight that we've seen some really good positive signs of what James was describing earlier, where we want to see this as really I emphasise as an asset to use, and the opportunity that if something comes across the council's table, here's something that there's been a lot of good thinking work in to help work towards. So an example of that was discussion the Trust had with council recently around 3-on-3 basketball. You may be familiar with its growth as a sport and popularity as well. Opportunity came across the desk to look for a temporary installation of a 3-on-3 basketball installation. And through this process, what council was able to identify was, firstly, that there was a space to house that temporarily. But even if there were to be a more permanent installation of something like that, having this concept was actually really useful to identify where something like that could go that doesn't impinge upon current access or any future opportunities as well. So some really good engagement there. And that's in the kind of a model that we would see working really well into the future. As these things come across the table, we've got something that can help be the basis of those conversations. And so just the last thing I would say is from a trust perspective, thanks James, very ably done. We continue to really try and think about other opportunities that we can add value to the usage of the facility. We have submitted through the network review led by Kennerwood Regional Council in terms of public transport, because we know that is another key unlock for people to get using the facility as well. So we're certainly not in a one-track mind around this. We are looking for ways to continue to engage there as well. And so in closing and welcome your questions and comments, our perspective here is, this piece of work that's been commissioned is really an asset for us to use, for us to use collectively. So our encouragement is for you as a community board and through council is to use it. As by no means, as James mentioned, a fully consulted document, but it is something really important stuff, and we think we really want to support council in making the most out of this amazing asset that we've got at Ngapunawai. So thank you for your time and happy to take any questions.
And just before the questions, just to reiterate that QE2 had a master plan, and that's one of the things that we used to look at when the LTP and their annual plans came up, is how they supported that development of that facility that used to be there. So I see this as similar.
Yep.
Great, lovely. Thank you so much for that. We will take questions now. I've got Cody, Helen, and then Mark.
Yeah, thank you for coming in. Really appreciate you taking the time. This is a little bit of an unusual one because it's written like a staff report. Are you council staff?
No, they're the trust.
Yeah.
So I'm just a little bit confused then. So there's priorities in the list here, and then there's the CCC priorities. So how's that come to be different?
So as the trust explained, they developed this plan with their
Yeah.
funding from Sport Canterbury and their sport bodies.
Mhm.
And then they gave the plan to Christchurch City Council, Sport and Recreation Unit.
Yeah.
And the Sport and Recreation Unit then outlined what they felt was a priority.
An alignment piece. that
An
they took from
alignment.
there. So it's,
So
yeah.
the Sport and Recreation Unit are very happy that the trust has set up and is doing this piece of work, because it is a partnership. And we're really lucky that there is that partnership for our community, and there has been that investment from council and the sporting organisation. So everyone's got kind of skin in the game and want the best outcome for the community.
Yeah.
And I
But you should
suspect,
be-
Cody, that they will, council staff will assess this based on the strategy, the policy document that council has.
Yeah, and to be fair, our original document, which you also should have, obviously that's not the council one that went to the council for that to be created. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, I think
You should have the original as well, I believe. Sent you the whole thing.
probably. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Just in terms of the recent improvements that have happened in the area as well. So I understand the road's been widened. There's a brand new shared path that's connecting, and there's also the roundabout's been installed. From the sort of transport things that you're looking at, what's really outstanding? I see you got extended car parking.
Extended car parking and public transport.
Yeah.
I mean, it's very poorly linked in terms of public transport.
Yes, it is.
And so we made a submission in the recent ECAN review for that. We said that there's a real priority. That's something to be done. It's a very long way to walk from Lincoln Road or your gear.
Yeah. Just in terms of opening up McMahon Drive was one other thing that we also mentioned. Are you aware of any obstacles for that happening? I believe there's a resource consent or something.
Yeah, we're not, no. We haven't
No.
got into that. That's obviously for the council to look as an option. We've just put down as a potential option, particularly as a through bus route.
Yep.
But whether that's feasible is probably above our pay grade, to be honest.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
And when are the peak times as well? It's operating. You mentioned that it gets quite
Winter sports.
Yeah.
Obviously, large events. So there's a significantly, when large external events also run alongside normal sporting operation, that can be a problem in terms of parking and access in general.
Okay.
Yeah, I would say, I mean, the sports have done and continue to do a pretty good job, and part of the whole concept of working together, this concept of the flatmates, trying to normalise and flatten schedules as possible. There are inevitable peaks, Saturday mornings, lunchtime, and even into some evenings. We've got sports, hockey or netball at the same time. But the biggest peaks are where you've got potential competitions on top of baseline usage, challenging times.
Thank you.
All good, thank you. After Cody, we've got Helen and then Mike.
Well, I've been to a couple of meetings down there with Halswell residents. And one meeting was they were quite angry. And it's about the lack of another exit point or an access point. Has that changed? Or
Yeah, so Wigram Road is open.
It's
The
open.
Wigram Road bypass, I drove through it 2 days ago.
has that changed how people feel?
I think it will.
You think?
I think it will make a difference when people realise it's there,
Okay.
because I think it's
good.
quite new. But yeah, I used it 2 days ago to get the football fields, and it was significantly easier than going up Lincoln Road, which is not the
Okay.
best place to drive up at the moment.
Oh, you're not a bus.
Yeah.
So it's open to the public already, the road?
I used it 2 days ago. Yeah.
Right. Okay.
The
Yep.
second thing I'd like to comment on is tennis.
Hmm.
My children had a background in it. So I would see there's a need out here, even if it's not for really competitive tennis, but for some more social tennis. And Halswell Tennis Club has asked for extra courts, I think, from us. So I think there's a need to keep those.
We're not suggesting taking them all.
No.
Yeah.
I think one of the things that's come through this review as well is the opportunity for things like multi-marking of courts. So
Yes.
as they were designed tennis courts, we've seen the
Yes.
rise of pickleball, paddle, all the other variants of tennis, which are incredibly important for community engagement. So I think what you've seen through the review is potentially the opportunity to maximise the space, not necessarily remove courts, but
Okay.
for example, to have multi-marking allows for different types of use. Yeah.
And the third issue, and I've got a bit of a, I could go on about this, but do you look 20 years ahead? Will this suffice in 20 years' time? Now, the reason to be up front, the reason I'm asking is that there's a lot of land at Templeton, and most of it's going to cemetery. And we got this issue a bit late to do much about it, but would you envisage that we should be looking for more land for sport for the future?
Guess we probably have to be careful around our scope.
Yeah.
The Waipuna Sports Hub
Big-
Trust. I mean,
big question.
if you're talking about a member of community, I'd have a different answer. But I guess as a sports hub trust, we have to focus with the asset that we are. We're focusing on.
You'll probably have, I presume, in 10 years' time, you'll be full.
Look, I think, and as you see up here, it looks quite busy. If you projected everything that came on here, and there's only so much space, even with CAP and with Napuna North fully utilised. I think the message is this is an incredible asset. We have feedback from people in professional sporting environments and community sporting environments and community groups who come here and are amazed by this facility, what we have. So this is about maximising the potential of this facility. Does it solve for 30 years?
20 years.
We would like to think the asset will absolutely be just as important in 20 years.
Okay.
Scope and sale might be a different question.
Okay, thank you.
Right. Thank you, Helen. Mark.
Thank you. Will you be bringing this presentation to council as well? Because it could be quite useful in council, especially around the long-term plan season.
We've met with the two leads of department, if you like.
So you mean council?
Main council. We'd love to. Yes.
Council.
Had the
I think we
opportunity.
should get the
Yes,
book
we'd
done
love to.
because this is
Sounds good.
this is a metro site scale
Mm.
proposal. So I'll leave Bailey perhaps to work on getting us the book in because I'd love to see this for the long-term plan so we can get some of these projects in there. Thinking about the tennis and the wind problem they have out there, is there anything that can be done in the short term to try and alleviate the wind?
Yeah, I should say I also sit on the board of Tennis Canterbury, so I'm familiar with the asset from a tennis perspective. There has been some work done in terms of windbreaking, so you get the planting helps. Some other physical wind barriers help. The reality is you are still exposed. You can only do so much out in that space. I think, as speaking of what James said, the tennis community have embraced the site as what I would call it's a capacity site. So at peak capacity, absolutely need to use it. Would you go there versus Wilding Park on a like-for-like basis? No, you wouldn't, because you're guaranteed certain conditions at Wilding Park. That's the nature of it. I think what that leans it towards is how do you use that space most efficiently and effectively to ensure you've got the right capacity for the area, and including on this facility, but also gives you optionality to deal with other growing community interests in other sports as well.
Because you mentioned there about pickleball. The wind affecting tennis will affect pickleball on 10 times worse. Although
the potential is that if you're more of a social user of pickleball, you might not be so deterred by a bit of wind on a social game of pickleball, but if you're playing competitive tennis, it might be a little bit more annoying to you on a Saturday.
And then of course the basketball, that's one of the growth sports. I'd imagine Tyler's probably listening online, quite holding himself back from commenting too much.
But I'm here.
I think this is a really strong plan you put together, and I'm keen to get that to council and get that building in.
Great. All good, Mark?
Yep.
All right. Oh, thank you very much. It was lovely hearing about it, and then probably get Bailey to organize something arranged with a council presentation with this at some stage. Okay.
Well, thank you very much. Really appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you.
Seriously,
Oh yeah, I'm here. In the wilderness.
Introduce the right. We move on to Transport Roadshow 2026. Oh, well, welcome to staff. Jacob, Stephen, who else? Kathy.
Another one?
No.
Loads of spare chairs.
It's usual. It's in the back, don't you?
Sharon here?
No.
No? Okay. And I'm sure we don't need an introduction from everybody from the board side? No? You know everybody here?
I don't know.
You don't?
Don't think so.
Go for it.
Yeah.
All right.
Not sure who's online as well.
Okay, Joseph, start, can you introduce yourself? please?
Kia ora, Joseph, Community Board Member for Riccarton.
Helen?
Helen Broughton-Riccarton.
Mark Peters, Hornby.
Cody Cooper Hornby.
Marie Polisco Halswell. We got on Zoom Tyler. You know Tyler?
Yeah.
Hey guys,
Sarah.
you know me well enough.
Right. Sarah
Hello, Sarah Brunton from Hornby.
and Debbie. Debbie's
Yeah,
online.
hi, Debbie Mora from Horseville.
Debbie,
Right.
your camera's off.
Right.
That's in a minute.
Okay, so go ahead, please.
Okay, all right. Hi everyone. Working it.
What it is.
Oh, there we go. Now it is. Cool. So the purpose of the briefing, really, I know that us and our teams turn up sometimes. There are decisions to be made, and then angry people sitting there like you're taking away our parking. And this is really just an opportunity for us to talk to you and you to talk to us in quite an informal setting where there's no sort of pressure on anybody to make decisions or to do anything. So yes, it really is your opportunity to ask us questions and for us to try and tell you what we do and give you a sense of the stuff that the transport team looks after. Structure of the unit, Steve is our head of transport. Kathy is our manager of operations. Jed here is manager of city streets maintenance, and then I'm manager of planning and delivery. So, right, I'll jump straight into this. So we own about 2,500 kilometres of road. Replacement cost, if we had to start from scratch and build everything we've got today, it would cost us nearly $6 billion. Today it's worth a little bit under 3. And it depreciates at a rate of about 260k per day. So to put that in perspective, that means we need to spend 95 million a year just to stand still, not to improve, just to stay where we are. Costs us $95 million a year. What do we own? So like I said, we've got about 2,500 kilometres of road. Around 2,116 of that is sealed, and just over 300k is unsealed. To give you a sense, that's greater than the entire length of State Highway 1. So from right up at the top of Cape Ranga all the way down to Bluff, we've got more road than that. Footpaths, I've got where's the number? A little bit more than that, just under 3,000 kilometres. We've also got about 300 kilometres of cycleways, which will get you about to Picton. And we've got about 207 kilometres of shared paths, which will get you almost to Tekapo. So again, good lengths. We've got around 258 CCTV sites. We've got 207 pay-by-plate parking meters, which you'll have all seen in the news, I'm sure, a week or two ago. That was quite an exciting morning for you guys, wasn't it? We've got, on top of the bus stops, we've got, a lot of those have got shelters. We also own the 4.3 kilometre tram route and all the infrastructure for that. So we get regulated as a rail entity in the same way that KeyRail do. And we've got over 60,000 street trees, plus over 107 hectares of landscape sites. So that's about 2/3 the size of Hagley Park that we look after, but obviously not in one big lump, lots of little bits all around the city. So we'll go through what we, sorry, difficult. I've got 2 screens. Didn't work very well last time, but we'll give it a go again. What do we do? So we'll start off with education. So we have a Cycle Safe team, which sits under Sarah still at the moment. They go around schools teaching kids how to ride on the road. Do that usually year 6s, isn't it?
Year 6s.
Yeah. So it's just before they go off from primary school, give them a good sense of stuff they do. Do you want to add to it?
No, just to introduce Sarah Anderson here as the current team leader of traffic operations and also TDM. So Sarah is Andrew's team leader. No introduction needed for Andrew, of course. But yes, and Sarah was formerly heavily involved with Cycle Safe training. It's obviously a very well received and very popular delivery that we do. And I think one of the keys, I think, is that it's often the first, often the first introduction to using the road for a lot of our young people. So it's quite a key skill that they grasp. And I know I've heard feedback around, some of the things they learn then get translated to, when they're with their parents, around what they tell their parents to do. So but it is very popular, and we could probably do a lot. I would think. So and we do also have other education programs that are delivered around road safety and behaviour change. Cool.
In terms of regulatory and development, so I said, last year we provided to around 290 consent applications. They're from single unit developments right through to big subdivisions and industrial parks and so on and so forth. So there's quite a lot of work that goes through that team. But we also support a large range of other activities, like it says there. So road stopping, that's when you want to literally stop a bit of road. Often bits of road are bits of road. They're sort of scratty bits of grass at the side, but we still have to do that full process in order to make that non-road land. Structures on streets, vehicle crossing applications, that's obviously new driveways and so on. Outdoor dining applications, certainly see those in the central city, but all around the city we deal with those. And traffic management applications and auditing. So if you see stuff out on the street that you don't like the look of and you ring up and complain, it's one of our team that deal with that. In capital delivery, in 2075, we delivered 127 million. Now, we put these slides together about 2 months ago when we started doing the roadshow. The year that we've just finished, we delivered about 145 million of capital, so almost exactly our budget. And in that, in the last financial year, like it says there, we delivered 137 kilometres of roads resealed, 43 kilometres of footpaths. And actually, that number ended up being quite a lot higher than that for roads resealed, didn't it? I can't remember what we did.
I don't know, about 30,000.
Yeah.
30k in terms of we doubled the spend in terms of resealing.
Yeah. So we really stepped up on that resealing side last year, and we're hoping to stay there this year as well. Parking and enforcement, we delivered 67,000. Gave out 67,000 tickets. There's a lot of that team obviously gets a lot of I'll let you speak to this because you speak to it quite well, and you have to know others. They get quite a lot of grief, don't they?
They do get a lot of grief. We are looking to make changes to how that team operates from a technology point of view to a more camera-based system. We already have quite a few cameras out on the network. There's one prime example there. But we are looking at systems where cameras are attached to vehicles and the vehicles drive around, and they even measure where the valve stem is on cars, so they can tell whether they have moved or not within the time limit. And all that it's not necessarily to go out and get more infringements issued, it's to protect our staff, because our staff get an inordinate amount of abuse out there on the street. They get chased, they get physically assaulted, verbally assaulted probably on a daily basis. So we really need to do something to protect our staff there, and that's why we're looking to make those changes. The vehicles towed isn't necessarily in relation to just a standard parking infringement. A lot of that will be people parking over somebody's driveway or blocking access and things like that.
Bus lanes.
There is a bit of bus lanes, yeah. They certainly do that, including, like it says there, on NZTA Road. So the new section of Horsell Road, we're
working on an agreement with NZTA at the moment. To do that for them.
Yeah. We'll end up doing it for Brougham Street as well, probably.
And the good thing about that is the revenue will come back into council.
Yeah. Good evening. Good afternoon. I'll try and give you a whistle-stop tour of maintenance. It's a large beast. in council, both in terms of network coverage as well as budget spend. We typically resolve in the region of 15,000 potholes per year. Now, most it says 10,000, that was the last count, but it's roughly about 14,800. We've currently got about 38,000 hybris tickets that have come through this year for various activities within the maintenance function. We generally process them within 1 hour. It doesn't mean to say the work takes place immediately. It does if it's an emergency, but that can be processed for and programmed for work that might happen 2 weeks to 2 months, 3 months down the track, depending on what it is and where it is. We've got a whole range of funding from OPEX and CAPEX. And it's quite different in terms of what it funds and obviously how it's accumulated and spent. OPEX, I've just written down a general, we do potholes, we do general road surface repairs up to about 200 squares. We do all the curb and channel repairs across the city, all the footpath repairs. We do street sweeping across the network. We do leaf cleaning and seasonality type of work. All the road maintenances belong to transport. So even though they remove surface water, they're a transport asset, and they move the water from the road surface into the Three Waters network generally. But we manage all the sumps, all the sump cleaning, and the chasing through. We do all the street signs across the city in terms of renewals as well. Line marking is an interesting one because we always get calls and questions. Really, line marking runs 12 months a year. And the reason being is lines keep people safe, both pedestrians and traffic. And we've had instances in the past and unfortunate fatalities historically where lines have faded and they've not been redone or not been noticed. People have driven through intersections North Canterbury and had serious accidents. So as part of our lump sum that we do with our contractors, there is a line company that just travels the city and remarks and remarks and remarks. And that way we make sure that everything is of a safe standard and we know it should be there on the road at the correct time for people to use. We do lots of bin emptying, if you think about it, around the city, but the bulk of our bin emptying is in the central CBD contract, around all the city streets, around Riverside Market, the shops and Takaha, etc. So there's a whole bins in that area. We do vehicle crossings. So that's all captured under the OPEX. OPEX is super expensive. It comes from rates. It's spent in the year it's collected. So we try to get best value for money through our contracts using OPEX. The other part of our business is the capital maintenance, and that covers resealing and it covers rehab of roads. So the resealing is primarily two products that we use. One is chip seal and one is asphalt, otherwise known as AC. Both similar products. Chip seal is used to waterproof the surface. It's a wearing layer and provides lots of grip. People prefer AC because it's nice and dark. It's very smooth. It provides a much nicer travel environment for both cyclists and cars. However, it does come at a cost roughly 4 times the price of chip seal. So it's only used generally in areas that have either heavy traffic, outside malls and commercial facilities, lots of turning areas that chip seal might fail under. AC is used there as well. Heavy goods vehicles on certain routes into and out of the city will use AC. And we'll also use it, well, we don't, but developers like to use it around the city. And lots of developments have AC put down to make them attractive to purchasers. And it's always a challenge when we come in 10, 15, 25 years later, because we're also funded by NZTA. So every decision we make on investment on our network, NZTA want to essentially check and confirm it's the right solution. And they'll always recommend, in most cases, that we look at chip seal where we can, because it's cheaper, and we get longer stretches of chip as opposed to the shorter stretches of AC. So that's always an interesting one with residential developments when we come along and suggest that we might put chip seal down, a lovely smooth asphalt. Yeah, and look, a lot of people ask me why we're resealing a road that might look fine. So look, roads have lots of different grades or subgrades within them. What most people see is the top surface that we call the wear layer. That's what fails under traffic, and that's what wears out and needs to be replaced. If you can keep the roads waterproof, and that means you don't chop into them to do repairs. That sometimes is inevitable. But if you can keep roads waterproof and in a good condition structurally,
You literally can have a very long time without having to do any dig outs or any major repairs by just replacing the top surface. So particularly with chip seal, given it's a lower cost product, we often go back, prior to the road failing, and we'll do a chip seal road. And we get questions as to why we've done it, because the road was in fine condition. But that's generally the reason, is to make sure we keep the waterproof integrity there, and we get another 10, 15, 20 years out of it before we have to dig stuff out. In terms of OPEX budgets, across our 4 contracts, roughly about $40 million spent in OPEX, and we've got roughly about 35 to 40 million in capital as well. So we touch every part of the network, and from obviously out west all the way through to banks, peninsula, all present very different challenges, very different topologies, different solutions, different demands. So that's kind of maintenance in a nutshell.
And I've got one more slide, and then I promise I'll stop for questions. So official queries, like I said, this in FY26, LGOIMA, so Local Government Official Information and Meetings Act requests. They're very specific timelines we have to deal with. We had 563 of 2,000, so we get about a quarter of them, basically. Put that in perspective, that's about we reckon it's about 2 every working day, 1.5 to 2 every working day. And some of those can you send us this piece of information and it takes 2 minutes. Some of those are really, really big, really complex, multi-unit queries, and they take a long, long time to compile. So yeah, really we put these up to give you a sense of the scale of things that we have to deal with. Every report is supposed to go through at least me, if not Steve, or me or Kathy, not Steve. So we have to deal with we read a lot of reports, a lot of memos, a lot of those take up our time in dealing with. Do you think there's anything else I was going to say?
Stranger.
That's it. Yeah. And with that, I was going to stop there and take questions on what we've covered so far before we move on to the next bit, because obviously there's a lot of material in here.
Okay, all right, thank you for that. I've got questions from Mark and then myself. So go ahead, Mark.
Very good, thank you. I've got quite a list here, so we'll see how we go.
All right, you might cover some of my questions as well.
You mentioned about temperature management, and I'm fascinated to know whether you try and coordinate multiple traffic management sites when they're in an area. A particular one that struck it recently was in Templeton, where there were 2 or 3 different layouts in place and different detours with each. And I think that the poor residents of Templeton got quite confused, and I even heard last night that some of them couldn't get home for a few days. The detours just wouldn't let them get home. So does that try and get coordinated to try and minimise that effect?
Yeah, I mean, Templeton and Halswell have been, if we're honest, they've been hammered with temporary traffic management over the last couple of years. And a lot of that isn't necessarily capital projects. A lot of that work is actually developer led. The team do as best as they can try and coordinate, but I think like you've highlighted, there has been a few issues. It's hard to say no, but we do need to try and better coordinate. So especially the diversion routes.
Yeah.
But yeah,
particularly when buses are involved.
Yeah.
Cool. I kind of ran this by Jed earlier, maintenance of deep dish channels. Is that part of your wheelhouse? It's not.
It is part of our remit at the moment. It's a very complicated remit. I don't know if Jed's tried to explain.
Yeah.
The problem is deep dish channels are actually a drainage asset. They store water much the same way as a pipe would. A normal drainage system, you'd have sumps and pipes. Deep dish do away with the need for pipes. So it's not just a simple issue of replacing them with or just filling them in.
Yeah.
Certain areas that might work, but then you've got to accommodate that volume of water that you're going to be displacing. The problem is a lot of the deep dish are in quite poor condition, but the road might not be.
Yes.
And then it's the cost associated with replacing that deep dish is significant.
Yeah.
And a lot of the time we try and hold on until we do a whole renewals project and redo everything. But obviously the number of those whole renewal or road renewal projects we do is relatively limited because of the cost.
Yeah.
So what that means is we end up with a whole heap of assets that are in poor condition. So we are currently exploring a number of options to try and address it. there may be the options to try and repair some of them. It may even be beneficial in certain cases to replace deep dish with deep dish. If it stacks up. So we're just working through these design options at the moment. And again, they're all over the city, and quite a few elected members have issues with this. So we will be reporting back on that relatively soon.
If our residents notice deep dish that's in poor condition and large weeds growing out of it, lots of blockages actually in the dish, should they perhaps snapsy and solve that to see we can't get that?
Absolutely. Yeah. All of that helps build a picture of the quality of the asset we have.
Yeah. Cool.
And then that goes into something to try and help prioritise where we should be spending the money.
Yep. Very good. Traffic lights, that's possibly operations I'm picking. When we've had a number of I think changes recently where some new assets have been put in. NZTA have helped do a few of them in my area on State Highway 1. And we've had some new right turning arrows put in, and often the turning arrows these days come with a red arrow that initiates at the end of the green arrow cycle. People are getting a little frustrated with the red arrow staying on, particularly when there's nothing around. I was last night at an intersection on Main South Road, McDonald's, where the red light was on. There was absolutely no one in sight, and I had to wait for the next cycle of lights to be cleared. So is there any opportunity for perhaps doing some revisit on some of the sensibility of some of these arrows that are out there?
What I'd say, if it's an NZTA intersection, I'd say that we do a level of operation for NZTA, but they hold the reins on what happens.
Right.
So if it's an NZTA asset, we can't. We as a community board, you could petition to NZTA to make change, but we can't make change to it. If it's our asset, it's different. We can look at options, and a lot of the time it's a trade-off around safety. One of the scenarios you're talking about is it basically allows filtering, so there'll be no green arrow, and then you can filter across traffic, and then at certain times of day or under certain demands, an arrow will come up, and then it means you've got priority. Which for a lot of situations that's fine, and to be fair, that's a lot better than we've had for a long time in many intersections across Christchurch. But during that filtering part, when you're allowing traffic to just go, that can be quite hazardous, particularly if you've got a multi-lane your approach on the other side. So there is a safety versus capacity type argument around that.
Is it worth perhaps myself and the board getting in contact with NZTA on some of these main highway ones and saying, look, could you possibly review this, particularly in the non-peak times when there's no traffic around? So
from a board's perspective, I'd absolutely recommend that, and there are ways to improve it. What I would say is if you've got a long right turn lane that may be 50, 60 metres, or it might just be a complete lane, you put a detector as far back as you can, and as soon as even if the lights are on red, as soon as you hit that detector, if there's nobody else putting demands in around the intersection, by the time you get there, it should turn green.
That would be.
So there are ways. You might have to stop, but you won't stop for long. So there are ways to improve that. The problem is by putting a detector 50 or 100 metres back, that's a lot of ducting, and that's a big trench. And that's generally why we don't do that, because of the expense. But there are ways to do things.
Excellent. Potholes on state highways, I'm thinking that probably is something we should raise with NZTA.
Absolutely.
Particularly State Highway 1 Carmen Road. There's a number of potholes that have been there for a very long time. Cool. I'll chase that up with them. Vegetation. I think Stephen's probably familiar with the one that I have talked to him, a number of times about with Woolworths Corner. Trying to get that vegetation trimmed. We keep chasing that, shall we?
Keep chasing it. See where we get to it.
Cool. Footpath lichen. That's something I sort of brought up at a council session recently. Is that something that we should perhaps get people to snapsy and so on?
So we spray lichen around the city. Some areas are more prone and we're looking at different treatments actually. There's been a supplier last week for a different treatment that's probably longer lasting in some of the areas where it does seem to flourish compared to the sunnier zones. So please snap and solve with any particular streets. Happy to come out, have a look and do a walk through and figure it out.
Thank you, that's good. General weed control in road areas, around traffic islands, curbs. That's, I think, the hot water solution these days, but unfortunately it doesn't seem to work nearly as well as we'd like. Is it something that we need to perhaps in the long-term plan lobby to try and improve your levels of service or budgets to try and?
I think that does come to a level of service decision, because at the end of the day, from a weed control, vegetation management point of view, we can do as much as you want us to do if we're given the budget to do it.
Yeah.
So, and at the moment, we don't necessarily have levels of service directly around vegetation management. And it's a question for yourselves as board members and elected members. Yes, we're a garden city, but then it's an OPEX cost. How much OPEX money do you want on that type of stuff?
Does the weeds in the sort of curb and edge of roads actually damage by the weed crumb getting in there and then the root system?
It can do. I mean, it depends on the type of weed and the type of construction and what's there. And if you look at NZTA, as you know, this board might know, with a certain roundabout in mind, NZTA's approach is they will only do vegetation management if it's a fire risk or a safety issue from a sightlines perspective. And they're very hard and fast on that.
And thank you for your assistance on that particular example.
Was that Boxing Day? I think we chatted.
Yeah, that was absolutely a stunning job. Now it's looking pristine.
So, and we haven't necessarily had direction set on level expectations from the likes of yourselves on that. So going into this LTP, that's what we're going to be looking to try and develop. Because then it makes it easier for us. It makes it easier for you. We're all on the same page as to what level is expected. If we're not meeting the right level, that's on us to deliver it. But then by the same token, if people are asking for something that exceeds that level, again, we can say, sorry, this is the level that's been agreed. So it just makes it clearer for everybody.
Yep, no, that's cool. We need to try and get those levels set correctly so it helps you and helps everybody.
Yep, definitely.
And I guess with that lobby NZTA, hopefully they can get some levels set.
Keep putting pressure on them.
Good luck with that.
Any roads that, I know one particular road, Springs Road, it's an asphalt surface been done probably 5-6 years ago, but it's all honeycombed. Is that something that we should perhaps again get Snapsy and solved? Because it really looks like it's ready to fall apart.
But look, if it's AC and it's falling apart within 5 years, then it's generally
it's underneath.
It's a deeper issue. And it's probably, if we came back in and put AC back down on that surface, it would likely fail within 2 to 3 years, given that the base and the sub-basin, the subgrade is starting to fail as challenges. So yes, and look, we have an asset team within transport who aren't here, but they work in the planning function that Jacob manages, and their fundamental role is to maintain an eye on the network and the quality. They look at the investments that we've made historically to make sure that we're getting best value for money. If we're not, they investigate why. They obviously make new suggestions regarding investments, and they prioritise our delivery programme of works from a capital viewpoint, both the big renewal stuff as well as the day-to-day capital maintenance. They have a whole suite of new tools that we've been developing over the last 2 years that allows us to do a lot more prioritisation and planning and integration with Three Waters is a good example, because typically they have to go in before we do, otherwise they're digging up our nice new roads, and that's never good, both from a optics and financial viewpoint. So they'll be very interested in that type of problem and challenge to understand why it's happening, and then obviously in terms of what we can do on an interim basis, hold it and then plan it into either future or LTP or other discussions in terms of major or refurb.
Last one for me will be thank you for the roadside planting that actually got done on Carmen Road recently. That's been truly nicely appreciated by the community. Other pieces of state highway, I'm thinking of one, I think it's Parker Street, Seymour Street, down towards Hallsville Junction Road. That stretch of road there doesn't get maintained nearly as well as people would like. Is that something that we are tasked with handling as maintenance, or is that state highways within NZTA?
We'd have to check. We do have a few peculiar boundaries with NZTA in terms of particularly road landscapes. So that specific example, I'm not too sure, but you can certainly come back and let you know.
I did send that one to Jed earlier. Is that something that you have a look at? Or
we can have a look. I was sitting in the car park when I was scrolling through them. Typically, look, it is a challenge, and I speak to NZTA, my cohorts over there, some of whom used to work at council. on average twice a week, 3 times a week. We've got very similar issues out in the east in Dyers Road in terms of old NZT fencing and fence posts we're trying to get removed. And look, it's a challenge. They have, like every organisation, limited funding, and they do prioritise it. And often aesthetics, they're quite honest about this. If they're low on budget, aesthetics don't get prioritised, and they'll happily leave stuff. And they'll spend the money elsewhere. And I get it does create challenges. My, I guess, rationale for trying to make them spend their money on it is if I spend council dollars on that, this means I've got less money to spend on other things in your wards. And when you come to me for a fix, if I'm out of budget, I'm out of budget until the year resets again. So we try and protect it as well as we can. And NZT, they do come to the party. They just often need a lot of cajoling and coaching and sometimes front page optics. It helped me recently, when a reporter figured out what was going on, and I just sent them it and they said, oh, we haven't seen that. And then we've got an agreement and then we get the fence removed. So it does happen, but it's a long journey.
Good. Really appreciate your work, and thank you so much for the road. Job you've done. The revocation roads, it's great. That's really, really fabulous. We should do all those. If only we hit the budget for a little bit.
You're all good, Mark?
I'm good, thank you.
So I've got about 5 questions. Then we've got Cody, Joseph, Tyler, and then Sarah. Cool. So I'm just not completely familiar with these, so just throw it in. And as you presented, so I just thought about it, so I don't know who's supposed to answer. So CCTV, you mentioned we have a lot installed. Are these major intersections, or where do they?
The majority of them are at traffic signal
Traffic
sections.
signal.
Yeah, and the primary function is for monitoring traffic.
Monitoring
the
traffic.
operations team to manage the network.
So these can't be used also for boy racers?
No,
No?
unfortunately.
Not these CCTVs. That's right. Okay. Last board meeting, we had a lot of items for approval. This is in relation to subdivision consents and existing infrastructure. Now, it was quite frustrating for us to be approving existing infrastructure. You might understand.
Yeah.
There was a suggestion, perhaps instead of the board approving existing infrastructure already, is to delegate to staff instead. What do you think about that?
So there's 2 bits about
No, you go.
about subdivisions. One is where we changed the existing road, and you've had to approve some existing stuff because of historical issues. And I think we've given you a memo, and we're trying to sort of chunk through those and get rid of those. And then from then on, changes to existing roads will come to you before they're done. So that's the plan. Even if they change a little bit, they'll come to you before they're done. You'll approve it, and then because often you turn up on site and actually things change, and you will have to come back. But the biggest issue is, I think, inside the subdivision, where you have, I mean, in reality, you have no control, and we have no control. It's set through the through the consent process, and I have some sympathy with your point. I think there probably isn't much value, and I don't know how we can change the delegations on that.
I understand it's based on the infrastructure standards.
Yeah.
And there's probably input from technical staff, but from our point, I mean, what's the point of us approving something that?
So the reason it needs a resolution is to legalise what's there. So if you're putting in no stopping restrictions or
To make it enforceable.
Yep, to make it enforceable. But there is a delegation review loosely happening in the background, so we can take that feedback and feed that into that review group. Because even from our point of view, is do we really want to see it? We don't know. But from your point of view, if you've got a huge subdivision, is it a good use of your time to be working through those resolutions when it's already built?
Yeah,
exactly.
As Jacob said, anything that happens on the existing road, that's absolutely your mandate.
Yes.
And for you to either approve or not approve, that's yours. But if it's in the existing subdivision on a greenfield site, then we can certainly put that forward to the delegation review team to see what they think.
Right.
One of the questions I had on that was, is there any possibility that it could be looked at as if it is a council asset, even though it's not yet vested, so that we can get the correct markings or infrastructure in place ready for when it does get the approval.
Yeah, so there's a timing issue around when it's resolved versus when it's built and when it's handed over, and that is something we're looking at.
Just trying to make it more sensible for us at the board, because one of the things we were, I think, a little frustrated with was we couldn't make any changes, even if we think.
Or even if we could,
You know,
it's gonna cost us.
And
I think the board can make just.
We could, but it's just gonna cost us.
And again, there was a situation in St Martin where I think it was the new old, they wanted a new access. They'd been given consent for a new access, but to build the new access, so they would have to change the road and change the parking restrictions. So it needed a board approval.
Yeah.
And the board said no. As is their right to say no. But another part of council had already given it consent. So there is a bit of internal messing around to try and tidy up. And of late, we've become very aware of these issues, and we are trying to tidy some of those issues out. And then the really easy one is, if anything's happening on the existing network, that has to go to the right delegated people prior to anything happening.
Just for some clarification, so in the new subdivisions, if they're existing already and comes to us for approval and we don't approve it, is that going to cost us or the developer?
It depends on the time and
It's vested already.
Yeah, if it's vested already, all it means is that everything on the road there is not legally enforceable. So it could end up costing council to go back and do other changes to suit what the board.
And it'll cost council.
Yes. And that's why getting it right as early as possible, while it's still in the hands of the developer, even before it's built, is the way to do it.
Don't get it before it's built opportunity.
So that's what we need to look into trying to achieve.
Yeah.
So I think those scenarios wouldn't really come up. I've looked at quite a number of resource consents, and the transport teams provided what I probably would have agreed with if it had come to me to make a decision. And then someone decides that it's less than minor and it gets approved without their advice. Is it just a function of the RMA working as designed?
It is, but we still then need to legalise whatever's on the ground from a traffic resolution point of view.
Okay.
The RMA process doesn't legalise the traffic controls.
No, of course.
And that's why we still need a council record of resolution. It's a frustration. We're quite aware of the issues it's caused and trying to fix it.
Right. Anything, anybody else has any question about that particular topic now? Okay, so, good. We just.
Maybe. Just, and again, with the new subdivisions as well and new construction, I oftentimes hearing from residents about vehicle crossings not being reinstated. So particularly can also happen like across the major cycle routes as well. And, someone's using it and they just turn up one day, I don't know, there's a block of 7 units going in and all of a sudden there's just like rocks. It's just what the path has turned into. Is that acceptable?
No, and that's somewhere in the process something's fallen over.
Okay.
If a developer's putting in a new vehicle crossing, there's a process they must follow. But at the same time, they may be abandoning an old vehicle crossing and that needs to be linked to the new one. So they need to build the old one back up to standard. So if something like that's happened, that's something that should have happened hasn't happened.
So if it was happening for weeks, then report it.
Definitely raise it and we'll get onto it.
Okay. And I guess along.
Still on the topic?
Yeah. So just along the same, with traffic management around new subdivisions as well, I understand you can enforce it if there actually is a TMP in place. What about when there's not? Because I've seen that happen sometimes where they've, shut down a footpath or something, and actually they've not applied for anything. I don't know who you could penalise.
So if they've not applied for anything and somebody's put something on the road that shouldn't be there, we do have delegated authority to issue notice and then to go in and remove it.
Okay.
But then it's looking at it on balance. Is that traffic management protecting something for a reason? If we go in and remove it, we need to put something else in to protect it and make whatever the hazard is safe. Then we end up owning the risk as well. So there is quite a complicated decision-making framework into how we manage that. But ultimately, if somebody does something on the road without authority, we do have a way to mitigate that.
Okay.
So what's the process in letting you know?
Just snaps and solve it.
Snaps in.
Yeah.
Okay, Joseph, you've got another on the topic?
Oh, yeah. So you'd mentioned that a lot of this is due to historical stuff and backlog. But I guess my question is, since it's continuing, because at the last meeting we had something for a new development where they'd started digging already, despite the approval coming to us. And I asked about this and we were told that it had been done as fast as possible, that the report had come in as quickly as maximally possible. So my question, I guess, is this going to continue for this foreseeable future?
I would hope not.
Okay.
I would hope not. We're
clearing through the backlog.
We're clearing through, and the fact that that one was that just started digging is a much better situation than it's been built for 2 years.
Yeah.
So we are catching up.
Okay.
Yeah. Cool.
Okay, thanks for that. I'm not familiar with we've done a lot of safety improvements decisions in recent years. Are all these safety improvements do they go through auditing each and every one of them? Goes in through auditing.
Any project where we're changing something on the road, whether it's for safety, cycling, buses, even congestion relief, we would always, a standard transport process is there's 3 safety audits, and you'd always do a safety audit post-construction.
Safety audits.
Yeah, a road safety audit.
And if they come back and say it's not safe, then it comes back to the board and.
It can do, yes. Yeah, or it depends on the level of the safety audits have a risk matrix associated with them. Depends on the level of that. We may look at options to mitigate it, or we might accept the risk. Yeah. If we want to propose options to mitigate it, and we've got budget to do that, obviously any change would have to come through you as the board.
All right.
We recently had a Templeton one.
Yeah, I was going to say it's banks have.
Yeah.
That we did.
Yes.
Came back and that was
What I'm thinking about is Dean's Ave.
Yeah.
Dean's Ave, that safety audit there. That's fine. Okay. You mentioned about towing cars, because I do bus number 7, and Lincoln Road is very naughty about having all these cars parked on the bus lanes between 3 to 6 p.m. So you said you can tow away the cars that park there, but there's always cars parked there.
You'd hope it'd never be the same person twice.
Right.
Kathy's got.
So just I haven't got any from this year, but so in 2024, 308 vehicles were towed from Lincoln Road and they gave out 4,192 bus lane infringements.
Wow.
In 2025, 153 vehicles were towed compared with 3,295. So that's like it's halved in that, from 2024 to 2025, the number of vehicles towed has halved, and certainly the infringements issued has also dropped. So you would hope that trend will continue and people will get the message.
Yeah. So I'm wondering, in the bus lanes, are these the towing companies, or is it council? Are we proactive or reactive?
Proactive.
Proactive.
There is going to be some education as well as we get the more bus lanes come online. There'll be some education around trying to, provide that context for people why it's important not to do it.
Right.
That'll be coming.
Great. Cool. Oh, this
Has the level of service changed? Because I understood that there used to be a tow truck that's pretty much just parked there with Guy from council in there to enforce it, day by day. But that doesn't seem to be the case anymore.
Well, on Lincoln Road, there is, but we have just changed contract, and there is a transition period between 2 contractors that we're still managing, but it shouldn't be. That transition should be wrapping up anytime soon.
Sure. Just one more as well. So with the timings on that stretch of road out to Halswell, they do actually vary quite a lot between sections, which is something we've been talking about as a board. And I understand that some of that section will be NZTA. Has there been any thought given towards unifying those timings for the bus lanes?
Absolutely. I think for one part of it, I think we're actually looking to bring a paper relatively soon.
Well, I think the NZTA one has Saturday included. Which was discussed, I think, with project manager at the time.
Yeah.
Katie, I think, discussed it. I'm not sure. I think that caters to sports.
Yeah.
But I think the top part, I think we are looking to make some changes to those hours.
Okay.
Relatively soon.
Yeah. I was quite surprised to go through there recently, and it seemed like there was a camera enforced section. There's very small by Burger King. There's 24/7, and sincerely hoping that when my partner changed lane very briefly to go past the car that was turning towards the Burger King, that we don't get infringed. I just thought that was very bizarre to have, a section for 10 or 20 minutes or something.
Let's have a look at that. We generally wouldn't enforce for a section that normally have to be. You can use it for 50 meters if you turn it off. If you're going to turn left in an intersection, you can cut into the bus lane for 50 meters to turn off.
Sure.
How, obviously it's difficult trying to judge that distance while you're driving a vehicle, but that's a general rule of thumb.
But I thought all our section, I thought was 3 to 6. I didn't think it was.
I don't think that's the case.
Okay, I'll go and check it, but I'm just.
No. And I guess I don't think it's fair to penalise people when it sort of varies so much between all sections.
Yeah, that's what I thought all ours was 3 to 6 get on outbound and.
A bit.
No. We can talk about this.
We'll check.
We can talk about this, but
I've got it here, but just the topic, so we're, so all good, Cody, on that?
Thank you.
I got my last question, but it's got something to do with this one, so help me with the others, because we're discussing this after after this one. There was something.
Draft waste minimization.
Draft
Oh,
waste
okay.
management and minimization plan. Right, so there's a proposal to segregate glass and bottles. Glass jars, bottles. I read it somewhere that the recycled glass is used for roading.
Yes, it gets crushed.
What help me on this?
Historically, we used to use crushed glass in some of our green cycleway surfacing. Problem with crushed glass is initially it provides really good skid resistance because it's sharp. But if anybody ever finds a piece of glass that's been on a beach for any number of years, it'll be smooth as anything. So we don't generally use that product anymore. So when we first started building a lot of our major cycleways, a lot of that product was used, but we don't use it anymore.
Where was it getting crushed?
Pardon?
Where was it getting crushed?
I'm not too sure.
Yeah.
But the product, there's a green surfacing product for cycleways that was used that did contain crushed glass as an alternative to a aggregate to provide friction.
I think the material recovery facility, where it dropped down the bottom of the move, they tend to have a contract with Fulton Hogan to take it off their hands and crush it and put it in.
Yeah, but I think one of the justifications here was for using it for road filling and all that, but if we're not using it.
No,
News to me.
Yeah, it's news to me. Like I said, we definitely used to use a green surfacing product for it probably 5-6 years ago. But we've not used that for any length of time. Fulton Hogan might be looking at some innovation where they could use it in another part of the road surfacing, but they haven't approached us with that.
Not in Christchurch.
Yeah, no.
All right, so we might need to think about that later. Oh, we're not part of it, Mark.
No.
But yeah.
Victoria.
All right, thank you. That's all from me. And Cody, you've got remaining questions. Cody, Joseph, Thailand, and Sarah.
Thank you. I won't try to take up too much more of your time because I know I already do. Just one of the big frustrations I hear about as well, particularly on our side of town, so Hornby sort of area, we've got our council, we've got NZTA, we've got Kiwi Rail, if we're in Templeton, we've sometimes also got Selwyn for half the road. We've got the council, airport as well, and then we've also got utility owners as well. Kind of don't really care as a resident who sorts it or who pays for it or whatever. But it seems like when we report an issue to the council that, someone just assesses it and goes, oh, it's actually not for me. And then it kind of just disappears. How do we, I don't expect you to answer it right away, but how do we actually make that simpler for residents that, you can kind of just report, I don't know, the pothole or the overgrown footpath or something like that, and it kind of just gets done? Is that something that you're working on?
Well, I think we need to work with our customer call centres on that. I mean, certainly in transport, transport is quite a big unit. We've got probably 150 staff in transport. And even within transport, things come into a certain team and they'll say, it's not mine. And that's because each team's quite different. So I know internally with transport, we are trying very hard to stop that approach and say, it's not mine, but this is a person you need to speak to and actually be proactive. So we are doing a lot more of that. In terms of wider issues, I think, yeah, we'll touch base with our customer call centre and get them to come back to you on that.
In fact, Andrew's done some work recently with around stuff that it used to go to NZTA and then somehow it fell off the system that people were putting it into NZTA that wasn't going anywhere.
Yeah.
So Andrew's actually done some work recently around that. It is literally, I think, a process problem.
I think so.
So yeah, there's still some work to do.
Where things can get a bit confusing is things like parking, how council would do the time restricted parking on the state highway and talking of that Denton Oval parking area mark, NZTA do the no stopping. So yeah, there's those works in there as well. But yeah, we are certainly looking to improve that.
Get smarter at it.
Yeah.
Yep. Cool. And I guess as well, a bit different. So there's minor safety budget as well. And I would say probably 99%, maybe 100% of the time, those reports that come to us as staff generated. Is there some process wherein we could give you, I don't know, as a board, 5 or 10 things that would say, hey, look, these are minor things that we think that would actually improve the transport environment that you could pick up?
I think they are. We are. I don't think we've done our presentation on that. So we are looking to, and we are looking to do a presentation to council, but we should probably also share that with boards on how we prioritise our minor safety and minor safety intervention programs. And in that, we want to be quite explicit about how it interfaces with boards and how boards can feed into that process, so that there will be something on that coming.
Okay, thank you. And just with regards to the South Express cycleway, it's also Norwest Arc as well. Are those both basically on hold? I guess if we're thinking Norwest Arc in terms of NX Road, is it because of Kiwi Rail?
So let's start with South Express. South Express, we were talking to Kiwi Rail about the intersection there. Obviously, we've now gone back into what will the intersection look like, and that'll affect what the level crossing will look like. So yeah, effectively that's on hold at the moment.
It's quite far away right now is what I'm saying. Like the distance from the intersection where it actually stops on either side is quite far.
I think I agree with that. Effectively, the cycleway comes in right against the rail boundary. So that was fundamentally what we were trying to get through there, is the cycleway straight through and carrying on along Waterloo Road. So that does have an impact on the level crossing. So we have to do something to manage the increased risk at that level crossing. So that's where that is. At the moment we will start talking to Kiwi again once we've got an idea of what that intersection will look like. Annex Road is really complex. I mean, we're looking at putting in some measures in the short term about sort of improving the cycle lanes that are going through there. The longer term option is probably several years away. In terms of the way we interact with Kiwi Rail have a real lack of resource in signalling design and sort of signal delivery. What we found a few years ago is when we tried to push everything, we got nothing. So we very deliberately said, right, well, we're not going to bother pushing everything. We'll sort of take 1 or 2 at a time and try and push those through. And so that's what we're doing. So we're doing Heathcote Expressway, which is currently underway, the Scruttons Road. The next one cab off the rank is Radcliffe Road, and the next cab off the rank after that is Parker Street. So that's the priority order that we're working on with them at the moment.
With regards to new footpath program as well, are you looking at using design and build contracts going forward? I mean, would you say that we have the same issue within council actually in terms of delivering those?
Not really. We've split those into different categories. So some of them are really simple and we should just be able to roll those out. And I think the first sets of approvals are about to come out to the boards for the first few of those. And some of them have property issues, they have drainage issues, they have lighting issues, they have retaining wall issues, and they're going to be a bit of a longer burn. So we try to do it is sort of split it into 2 or 3 different categories that we'll procure in different ways depending on sort of how complex they are.
Okay. street trees was one of the things that you also mentioned. How can we go about building more where residents are asking for those? Is it something that's funded for a certain level of service?
Just we do have a urban forest plan.
Yeah.
And we have not too long ago created a project for planting new street trees. Historically, we have a 2-for-1 policy, or minimum of 2-for-1. For every street tree that's removed, a minimum of 2 trees need to be planted. Across a lot of our capital projects, we can't always plant more street trees. So rather than our arborists struggling to find individual streets to locate those trees, we're actually tallying up the complete numbers and assigning a project manager to go and find spaces to try and get those trees in. So we're doing it in a more coordinated approach than we used to.
Okay. I also asked for a briefing in terms of the fast track industrial projects that are happening in and around Templeton as well. Is that coming to us?
I'm not sure. That's being dealt with by the consent team. Consent unit.
Yeah. That's not, we've not
planning.
been.
They'll give written response.
Okay. Oh, they're not going to come to us?
Not at this stage.
Okay.
But that's not transport.
Okay. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Cody. I've got Joseph, Tyler, then Sarah. Joseph, Billy.
All right, I'll try to talk quickly. So you'll have to forgive me as a new board member for asking, but you mentioned a number of things, the streetlights, road signs, bus stops, things that conceivably could physically exist without the projects to install them. So I wanted to ask, where does the stuff come from physically?
I'm not 100% sure where all the kit comes from. Streetlights, I know a lot of the streetlights come from a local supplier. So Spunlight, they provide most of our traffic signal poles and streetlights. Bus shelters, we have a couple of different contracts with bus shelters. We've just recently signed up to a new advertising contract for bus shelters that generates over $1 million a year revenue for council for advertising, and they provide their own shelters. Our other bus stop maintenance contract is with Fulton Hogan, and I couldn't say where they get their shelters from. Sorry.
Just need another 95 of those contracts to make up the deficit. But I guess my question would be, if you can foresee, the number of new signs that need to be installed per year, or the number of new streetlights that can be installed per year, does council keep any on hand, or is everything purchased to order?
Most things are purchased to order. Signal poles and streetlights, there's normally a back order, so we normally have our maintenance contractors will normally have a few in stock for emergencies. So if there's a couple of big crashes and signalised intersections get damaged, we don't want to be waiting around for equipment. I'd also say so we as council don't necessarily own them, but our contracts do. And written in some of our contracts is the need to have stock availability. So even road signs, if give way signs, we would expect if a give way sign was damaged, that our contractor could supply a new one straight away.
Okay, so there's a backstop capacity.
Yes.
Okay, right, thank you. And I also wanted to ask about, you mentioned a lot of these contracts, bulk contracts for contractors that interact with the line remarking contract. Could you just talk me through how these contracts work?
What would be best for?
Yeah, so we have contracts that have been established initially on a 5-year basis with a 3-year right of renewal, then a 2-year, so ultimately a 10-year period. So these contracts, primarily with HEB, are the main contractor for Central and Northern City, and Higgins are the main contractor for what we call Southern, but that's south into Riccarton, stretches out to west as well. Fulton's managed banks. They then work with a variety of subcontractors or tier 2 contractors to deliver different services as part of that contract. So the street sweeping is managed by 2 different companies in Christchurch, because one of them has a small buggy that allows them to do cycle lanes, the other doesn't. So there's different contracts like that, but the contractor will manage those contractors. Same with line marking, and they will come to us with regards to requirements, and then we'll do the QA every month when they submit their claim for types of work. Then I've got roading engineers, pavement inspectors, technical staff that will then go out on site and review work that's either happening or is taking place, and then we'll pay the claim based on what they submit. Sometimes we push back. We're not happy with the quality or the service or the delivery. It's not been to spec, so That's all done at contractor cost. So they pick up rework, so it's in their interest and it's in their subbies' interests to get it right first time, because we've got fixed prices for this, and we don't pay extra. And that's included in the lump sum costs I talked about. So if we charge on a per pothole basis, it'd be crazy to figure out, what they cost. So we agree on each contract, as an example, what type of potholes we may see during the year. And if we get some more, that's paid for. If we get some less, it's just covered in the lump sum. It's the same with street sweeping. It's the same with rubbish collection. So there's a float period within the contract that allows us to continue delivery without trying to scramble to figure out if we owe them or they owe us. And it's worked like that for a long time, and it works really well in terms of these major contracts. So yeah, the line marking is subbied out to a different company, but Heb and Higgins will manage an organisation within their contract area, and they'll work with them. And often it's done at night, and it can be disruptive for residents. It's often done at night because during the day, the product has to dry on the road, so they'd either have to block off some major routes into and around the city, which would create a lot of noise and confusion, and traffic management plans that are very costly. So they do it at night in residential areas. And councillors obviously contacted me previously from residents that are wakened up by this. Generally, they pass through within one evening, and so it's not onerous. They're not in one area for long. They can do lots of different areas in this automated truck.
So there's street sweeping, that's a separate contract.
So each we have probably in the range of about 90 activities within our contract, and each one of them is delivered either via our main contractor with their skills and staff, or they will sub it out to another contractor, and then they will monitor that relationship, and they'll QA them, they'll pay them, they'll work with them, they'll direct them, but we will only work through the main contractor unless we've got issues, and then we bring them all together. And we've sat in the room with both parties and said, we need to get this fixed. It's not working. And then they'll come to the table with solutions and options, and then off we go and try that.
So how many contracts does this community boards area cover? Or how many contracts exist? Like how many of the main contracts exist within our area?
One, which is Higgins, for the Southern maintenance contract.
So the whole area is within Southern?
Yes.
Right.
But we do have other contracts for street lighting, traffic signals. But the main road maintenance contract is the Higgins one. Right.
And if there's a representation review, or there's a change in the structure of the council, or indeed the council is entirely changed, what happens to these big contracts?
I think it depends on the scale and size of any change. From our point of view, I think it's relatively simple, is that we would just take on more contracts, bigger contracts. We may look at splits in terms of urban versus rural, depends on where it goes. But from our point of view, we're delivering the same service over a bigger area. So it's just a resource question.
Right. But there's potential then for a decision-making body that covers a particular area to get multiple contracts within its area.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right. And I had another question. You mentioned earlier there were cases where developers had put in asphalt, and that came up, 10 to 20 years down the line, I think it was. Is there any way to have the developers, cover the cost of the later replacement?
It's a great question. My honest answer is I think we'd be dreaming in terms of if we put that in the consent or the statement of works at the start. I mean, it might not even be around as a developer at that period when we go back to them. They might have cut and run. So it's not just AC or asphalt within that zone. So they'll put in unique trees, shrubbery. They'll put in unique street light and street furniture. You name it. It's all there to attract buyers. The challenge being is when we go back with a concrete street lamp that costs us, let's just say $100, and the residents are looking at this ornate steel iron one that costs $5,000 and it's been hit by a car or it's fallen over. That could be an interesting conversation. NZTA's preference is we standardise, or we try to standardise all the types of furniture that go into residential developments. Easy to think about and discuss, but probably extraordinarily difficult to get private developers to, make the optics and appeal of their development less to potential purchasers. So it is a challenge for us to go back in, and we have to explain to residents why the ornate street lamp with a beautiful gaslight looking fitting on it is being replaced by a dark yellow sodium light or an LED at the end of a concrete pole. It can be a challenging conversation sometimes.
Right. Well, I guess in terms of legal history, one of the antecedents of the council structure, right, is stuff like in the UK, like ages and ages ago, even before it was the UK, really, they had, turnpike trusts or bridge trusts or road trusts, organizations that managed, very specific areas. Is there a way to encourage responsibility for that sort of thing to be handed over to a body corp, for example, that's created by a development?
It depends. That comes down to the consenting side and whether it ends up being invested as a council asset. You could have a huge subdivision that a body corp could take on and manage without it being council. But as soon as it becomes a council asset, I'd say no.
So there's no capacity for the council to contract out to the body corp, for example, to maintain that sort of stuff.
I wouldn't know. I'm sorry.
Okay, right.
They could keep it as a private road.
I think when they find it cost to actually do the work, and it's the cost for infrastructure, maintenance, and then renewals is massive. AC we get really good rates of $60 a square meter, and you can work out what a large residential, and that's just to lay AC, and that's for milling and mixing. If you have to do road repair underneath it, it goes up. Street lights, thousands of dollars per unit. So the actual cost for a body corp to administer that across people, I think they'd be horrified by, because they'll see them paying rates, rightly so, as covering a lot of this type of activity, but not if in a private residential street.
All right, makes sense. Another question. What happens when there's undergrounding? Just in relation to your team, in terms of roading assets, work that needs to be done a few years down the line or whatever. What's the process for coordinating that?
From a utilities point of view, any utility provider needs a corridor access request, so a CAR, and that would get submitted as part of their, or at a similar time to TMP. And part of that is coordinating with other utility providers. You wouldn't want Orion and Three Waters going in at the same time, or you would, and you'd coordinate the two, so it's one lot of disruption and not two lots of disruption. Yeah. So yeah, we do try and coordinate that. The other part of that, which is always a challenge, is coordinating the reinstatement and making sure the reinstatement's done to the correct standards. Because as Jed's team regularly finds out, when people don't reinstate roads properly, and particularly when a new subdivision's built and you've got lateral going out, you end up with a really bumpy road. The problem is with utility providers, they have a right to go into the road. We can't stop them. If Orion says Jed could have it, or Jacob could have a big capital program, say we're going to go and build this here. If Orion come in and say no, we're going in on this date, there's very little we can do about it. All we can do is try and coordinate as best we can.
Right. So you generally try to keep works aligned, but it's not in your hands.
It's not always in our hands when it's a utility provider, because they act under the Utilities Act, which gives them a certain right. Internally with Three Waters or other council projects, we do our very best to align.
Right, and I had one more question. That was about parking enforcement. You mentioned switching to cameras. What needs to happen for that to change?
We're currently going through a procurement process at the moment. The big part of that system is the back end system. It's where all the data comes in and gets processed. And then the other side of it is the technology on the vehicles and the handheld devices the officers use themselves. Once all that's, while that stuff's being put in place, we'll also need to do a whole lot of training and development for staff using.
Right, and regulatory frameworks and stuff like that?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, right. In the meantime, are you looking at changing the levels of service there or increasing the number of people who are engaged in that activity?
I think we're continuing as we are.
Right. When do you anticipate that the changes will happen?
Over the next 18 months. Okay. It's going to be a gradual change. We need to get the back office system in place first, and then we'll get the changes on street made.
Right. Okay. I think that's all for me.
I have to apologise because I'm going to have to run as well. But these people are going to look after you. Yeah, that's all.
I've got Tyler and then Sarah. So Tyler's on Zoom.
Yeah.
Thanks, Steve.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Tyler.
Just got a couple of local questions. I don't often get to do it at the council table. The first one is around markings for parks. So you've probably had a few CSRs in regards to asking for some lines to be installed outside driveways. How would we use the appropriate mechanisms to extend those out?
Sorry, what was the last part again?
I think that, sorry, it's quite hard to hear you, Tyler, if you could speak
Oh,
up.
sorry, 2-6. I'll just get rid of the microphone. 2-6.
That's all right. I think the question was, how do we get parking ticks installed outside of driveways?
Oh,
Andrews.
All right. Can you hear me all right?
Yeah. We typically try and.
Come to the table, please, Andrew.
Spare chair now. That's decent.
Does
I mean,
it?
there is an ongoing cost with both with installing these. So it's another asset that has to be maintained, and we have to pay to put it in, and all that. Although that may seem quite small, it does mount up pretty soon. We would typically try and target parking ticks to areas where there is a high history of parking issues that haven't been able to be resolved through enforcement. So typically, if someone asks for parking ticks, it's usually come about because someone's parked over their drive and they want no stopping and things like that. So we will work with the property owner to look at things like, well, is their vehicle crossing the right size and alignment? Are the issues actually going to be solvable by parking ticks? Because even with parking ticks, some people choose to park over them, or is actually enforcement still the best option? So it is pretty much case by case basis. There's certainly some benefit to doing whole streets all at once where we know there's issues too. But yeah, I'm happy to talk to you, Tyler, about what streets you might be thinking of, and also we can check in with how many of those properties in a street have actually called parking enforcement. I think it's probably not financially prudent or resource prudent to act without trying enforcement first.
Yeah, I was just thinking in regards to that financial prudence part was, if we're doing renewals, and I'm looking at the map right now, I'm even just resurfacing, right? Chip seal, whatever it is. Usually the contractor comes back to mark out the lines anyway. Do you think they might be able to do it then?
The contractual market lines that were there previously.
Yeah.
They won't mark out additional lines unless there's clear instruction, as Andrew said, as to why we're doing it. Yeah. There's also some. There can be a downside to marking out parking ticks because we mark them legally where the 1 meter from the usable driveway is.
Yeah.
And in some cases, the 1 meter is a lot closer than people perceive.
Yeah.
So it can work both ways. It can actually upset some people because there's no point in us marking it, say, at 2 meters or further out, because someone calls parking enforcement. There's a car over the parking tick. Parking enforcement go out there and say, well, actually, it's legally parked. Because at the end of the day, they are guidance marks. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, we saw it in Nelson Street, Andrew?
We did.
Yeah,
we did see that. That's right.
That's
and that
right.
matter's resolved, I believe.
It is, indeed it is. Thank you very much, good sir. Hey, the next one is you guys have the general litter on footpaths within your team, don't you? That's not with the waste team, is it?
Litter.
Yeah, like in trolleys and that kind of thing.
Yep.
Trolleys, litter on the ground, rubbish bins, things like that.
That's correct, Councillor, yes.
Yeah. So I'm just wondering, because we haven't really had a clear answer around how could we affect levels of service to present an uptick in addressing hotspots. Would you be able to tell us what mechanism we could use to maybe get some more pickups, whether it be at the hub, Hornby, Church Corner, or outside Westfield, around getting some crews to go through?
Look, informally, I'd be happy to increase, and we do have hotspots all around the city for different things, for drainage, for leaf fall. We do extra sweeping and some cleaning in certain areas, and if there are litter areas that you believe aren't being treated well enough, then please feel free to raise it with me, and I can talk to my contract managers and contractors to see what we can do within the current contract framework, because it is a lump sum activity. If it's extensive and regular,
then it would be a budgetary decision as well. And look, we can spend more money on it. It's just because I've got a finite ops budget, I'd have to figure out within that operations of delivery where I'd remove some funding. But look, it's all doable. And if you have certain hotspots or regular SnapSense solves, then we do track them. We do have hotspots of street sweeping for either very like street line trees. We have pavement clearing for areas where we have lots of starlings that decide to go to the toilet on the pavement 400 times a day in a certain season. So, all these things, they're managed through the contract. And I guess feedback helps us continually refine what we do and where we focus. And the trucks, when they go out and they do the curb and channel, detritus cleaning and sweeping, they're all automated. So if there are parked cars there, the truck actually detects when the boom goes out and how long it's out for. And if it misses certain chunks of road, then it gets logged as a repeat visit. So they'll come along either early morning, perhaps outside shops. They'll come on early morning or late at night, 10:30 onwards, to redo that stretch as well. So
they do a great job. Yeah, they're really good.
Yeah, they ask how they can get past parked cars, but often it means multiple visits. So please get in contact after this and let me know what areas you're thinking of, and I can see what we can do within the contract as it stands.
Okay, thank you so much. Because the real issue is, and this is probably what everyone already knows, is Riccarton residents are probably the most, I guess, the least engaged in the city in regards to reporting. Obviously, because of the transients, and two, I guess, the lack of connection to their community in comparison to what Horswood and Hornby might report. And that's where the real gap is, because that reporting obviously informs the levels of service that's created upon the work program. So it makes it a little bit more difficult to be able to get some work done. But I'm on my last question. I'm really sorry about this, but
can I just jump in there, Tyler? I wonder whether that's something that an organisation like Keep Christchurch Beautiful might be able to help you with that.
Yeah,
where you can let them know if there's a problem with litter in a particular area, and they can plan a blitz and get in there and help clean it up on a regular basis. They're looking for opportunities to do, so that might be worth looping out.
Yeah, bloody good. Thanks, mate. The last question's around parking, and I get a lot of complaints around parking, and the need for parking wardens to be out at certain times, which is usually after hours or on the weekends. Could you just remind us if parking wardens come out on the weekends?
Yes, they do. Yes, they have rostered staff on the weekends, but often they are quite heavily used with the sporting events, or recently we've utilised, so for events like at Te Kaha, they've actually warranted security guards to be able to do that work.
wow.
But they it's often sporting events, but it's not after hours again. It's still just during the day, or till, I think it's 6 o'clock. Yeah.
6 o'clock they knock off. So then anyone after hours, if they're not parking right, they sort of get out of jail free kind of thing?
Yeah, it depends what. So people can still call the customer service centre. And it depends on the parking. If it's a safety issue, police can be called. If it's sometimes it might be private, you'll get a private tow company. It just depends what it is. But yeah, we just don't have resources to do after hours.
And we in terms of safety, we wouldn't really want parking wardens out after at night, would we?
And and that is one of the challenges. And I guess going forward, with new technology coming in, more cameras, those sort of things, there might be opportunity. We can't. We do need parking wardens to attend anything for an evidential process. So like when people think they can send a photo of an illegally parked car, that can't be taken, that's not something we can take through a legal process.
Yeah.
Can I just ask on that one? But as far as I'm aware, Auckland and Christchurch councils are the only councils in the country that have the evidentiary standard. I'm aware of probably 3 or 5 councils that don't have that standard. Members of the public can report it. They would have to participate in a court process, of course, which is pretty onerous. Has there been any thought given to actually reviewing that?
I think we've had a legal review done on it previously.
Yeah, we have. Yeah.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah. Cool.
More from you, Tyler?
Yeah, I'm all good. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Tyler. I've got the last person, Sarah.
Lucky last. Just quickly, it hasn't been mentioned for some time, and I know that it's NZTA, but it is definitely an intersection where I find that sometimes I feel like it's safer to shut my eyes and try and get through than actually try and drive properly. But the Sockburn roundabout,
it's
there
not
image-
NZTA. Yeah, it's ours.
is it ours, fully ours?
Yeah, it's fully ours, yeah.
Okay, so where are we at? Is there anything planned to help safety or efficiency around that intersection or roundabout?
It's part of the route of bus route 5, and it's one of the major hold points of getting the buses through effectively. So it will be looked at as part of the Route 5. But it's definitely been looked at in the Route 5 business case, and we'll be looking to roll out some sort of intervention there. As always, when we do projects, it'll be there primarily for a single reason, but we'll try and pick up as many problems as we can while we're there.
Yeah. One of the things I've heard on a couple of occasions is it possible to get some better line marking on the way in, saying straight through, right, so that people aren't trying to go straight through up Main South Road from the right-hand lane.
Yeah.
There's been people cut off there, some pretty horrific, scary moments for people to...
Even just some errors, like within the
Yeah.
intersection, to have like a guidance for people to come off.
Yeah, or what are those big signage that you can have at the top to show the lanes and which way you got to get in to get to the way you want to go? Yeah, those.
There actually was planned, Sarah, but it was because it was on our LTP, NZTA decided not to fund it as part of the CRAFT program. So
why would NZTA involve then?
Because it was CRAFT money.
Yeah.
So because we already had it on budget, they didn't fund it as part of CRAFT and then dropped off priority list.
Can we get clarification from staff on this?
So yeah, Andrew can have a look and just provide some information back around where things are at with it and what might be a low if there's any low cost options.
Line marking errors.
It was, as I think Cody said, it was previously a project, as I understand. The significant works needed to make a significant difference. I think that's my memory of it, including probably large directional signage on all the approaches. So line marking is probably one of the more minor possible changes, but I guess doesn't fundamentally change how it functions. My understanding, same as Jacob's, is that it's been looked at as part of Route 5 and MRT in the future, and that would be where the opportunity would be for significant capital works to be undertaken to address how it functions.
The model changing.
Can I just ask, like as it stands, in terms of safety, do you get many reports of like crashes or very major crashes within that roundabout?
Near misses.
Yeah.
Yes, that's right. And it is one of the locations that comes up. It also comes up downstream of it for pedestrians too. So on the other side of the overbridge and on the other side, even trying to cross, say outside Avon City Ford. So it comes up for pedestrians. It's not great for bikes, and also it has challenges for people driving. If people followed the line marking and do what they're meant to do, it can actually function quite well. But I think the other thing which comes out about it is it's quite conducive to higher operating speeds, how it's been designed. And with that reduces the ability for people who have made mistakes to correct what they've done wrong. And also with those heavy vehicles that go through there too, it does provide quite a bit of anxiety for some people. So I think it's more in the realms of near misses from what I can recall.
Oh no, it's towards the top of the on the Kiwi Wrap ranking.
It's sheer volume would help with that too.
Can I just ask, in terms of I didn't watch the workshop that was on earlier today. What was the time frame for that? Is it one of those sort of phase 1 improvements that you're looking to do?
No, I mean, that's a pretty major bit of work you'd have to do there. So that would be one of the ones.
Even in terms of like ramp metering or something like that?
It's certainly not one of the ones we'd roll out reasonably soon. It would be quite a significant piece of work. I would imagine that's sort of 18 months, 2 years to have a change.
Even for ramp metering, like it's there was a budget for it, ramp metering. So you would limit, for example, with a traffic light, same as when you go off.
Yeah,
Junction Road.
It's not something we're looking at for the.
Really?
Yeah.
It was, I understood. Okay, well, I'll wait for the advice to come back. I understood you'd looked to it before. Cool. Yeah. Thank you.
Sarah,
any more questions?
Well, actually, just quick. Oh, sorry, I know this has gone a long time. Just quickly, with the roads around Wigram were recently waterproofed, and I just it felt a wee bit like they're such new roads, and that it wasn't necessarily something that seemed. Yeah, that needed to be done when you compare roads around the area, others that needed to, appear to need a lot more attention. But obviously, was it just part of maintenance that's a regular thing that you need to do even for new roads to ensure that they continue to operate effectively in maintenance?
Well, it's a great question. It's a product we're trialing just now. We've put it on a number of different classes of road. It's a rejuvenation product. So it's not proper resurfacing. It's relatively cheap, as in a few dollars per square meter. What it does is it gives a bit of life back to the oxidized AC. So we're only using it on AC roads just now. It can be used on chip seal, but we're trialing it on AC. The idea is for a few dollars investment now, we can extend that life of road out by another probably 6 to 8 years. That gives us hundreds of thousands of dollars return across the network. And we tried it in Northwood. We've tried it in Halswell Junction Road in terms of and it's like on roundabouts, it will wear off, but it's lasted, which is quite interesting. So we've tried it on a variety of roads around Wigram. We're also doing a variety of additional testing on it for longevity, and look, we need to monitor these roads as well to make sure that we do get value for money. But it's a product that about 3 companies in New Zealand are now developing and importing. So we thought we'd try it as part of our, I guess, innovation in terms of where we're taking some of these investment profiles. So that some of those roads were down between sort of 6 and 8 years. And some are down a little bit longer, but that's in terms of, we try and aim for about a 10-year window for when we start to apply it to AC roads. Generally, AC roads have a life of about 15 to 20 years before they start to fall apart. The idea is we get 23 to 25 by applying this product. It goes on super thin, less than a mil thick, does a little bit of crack filling, but primarily it's there it makes the road look new, which is nice from an aesthetic viewpoint, but it's there to help with the oxidization and replenish some of the stuff that the road's lost over the previous sort of 5 to 7 years.
Yeah, that makes sense. Thank you.
Probably a story we could tell better to the public. So that.
Yeah, look, it's still. I mean, we've done a lot of it's been on roads and it works really well. My challenge is getting empirical data.
Yeah,
it's been used a lot in airports overseas. America's been using it for 30 years. It's coming via Australia. And we've got an importer. So there's 3 products have popped up all at the same time. One of them are looking at waterproofing deep dish with another type of similar product to see how that works. So, the same with rubber roads and fibre infill AC. There's a whole heap of new technology coming to the market that we're really keen to trial, but we need to do it in controlled environments. Wigram presented a really good opportunity given lots of cul-de-sacs and not through roads, so we could see how it wears down in those types of environments.
So you're gathering empirical data on this one. Are you anticipating doing this a lot more to gather more data from different parts of the city, or is it just this?
Oh, look, I think I've put down enough in different areas to start to, and our asset team are working with us to develop longer term review of this. NZTA, interestingly enough, on the fence regarding it. They see lots of value in it, but again, other than the marketing material, like the mayor out there, the mayor out there on the site, looking at it thinking it's a really good product, but other than marketing material, there is some data that we've managed to secure. Even Fulton Hogan's, who developed their own product, to try and get us the data. It's challenging. So I just want to make sure whatever we're investing in, I can make sure I can stand up and give the return, both in investment and value for the network, for why I'm spending that money.
Right, Meg. When do you foresee all of the actionable data coming through?
Oh, I reckon certainly within the next sort of 12 months, and then it will be an ongoing review. We're reviewing the ones that we did 18 months ago on Halswell Junction Road. in terms of steel guard as a product. And there are other cities in New Zealand. Dunedin have invested heavily in it. Auckland have put down some something. So I'm talking to different cities that have different temperatures and weather profiles to see what effects that has as well. It's generally pretty forgiving in terms of when you put it on the road. It dries pretty quickly. Within 3 to 4 hours, it's touch dry and drivable. It's really good for not closing roads for a long time. And if it does what it says on the tin, then it's a no-brainer for extending our AC life and reducing our cost. If it doesn't, then again, like a lot of things, it's good to be trialed it, but there'll be other things coming out.
All right, we've got 5 minutes left. We've got Mark, you've got a quick question, and I've got a very quick question.
Do you just want to check at the start of the share anything? We're happy to.
Oh, yeah, because you still have lots of.
I've got lots of slides, but I don't mind. If you
You
just want to do questions, that's all good.
Cool, okay, Mark.
Cool. Woolmers Road, we've got the problem area up against the park. Is that something that you could work together with the parks on regards to upgrading that slice of road, or is that purely a transport matter? Because we've got a really rough shoulder that people park on to go to the park. There's no curb. There's lots of potholing and puddling. And I've noticed you've got it in your, I think it's reinstatement for 3 years out sort of thing. Is there any way we could have a bit of a look at that particular area?
So I thought it was actually meant to be done already. We got sent out, I'm pretty sure got a start work notice.
I think it's in the progress. Maintenance are aware of it.
Okay.
It's where there's quite a lot of informal angle parking in parallel. There's some heavy vehicles that use it at times. It's an unsealed shoulder that holds water, and also there's been an issue. I think Bailey showed me some photos of someone informally
dumping asphalt.
Correct. Yeah, I think those.
Yeah, so I understand that has been raised. Yeah, Warren Park has been raised.
Yeah.
So look, from a maintenance viewpoint, we wouldn't typically spend money to create a new asset from an operational fund, and the length of it might require it to be capital funded. So I can guarantee it's because it's not a road. It will be sitting there and I mean it most respectfully on a dusty shelf, waiting for some noise to be made around it, and then we can actually look at it as a project and as a standalone. It probably wouldn't touch the size of most of our algorithms for pulling it out as a key road to be done. So it's probably one of these ones we just need to have a discussion about and see what we can formulate and come together with.
That'd be good, because one of the issues that it kind of creates is there's a parking issue up on Oakley Crescent, the other side of Warren Park. People parking all over berms and across driveways and all sorts of things on a continual basis. So if we could get Woolmers Road sorted, people can park there instead of causing the problem on the next street over on the other side of the park. So let me check. And then my last one was fly tipping. Do we do proactive monitoring for clearing fly tipping? I mean, my classic one is, I know Roberts Road's pretty well. We look after that pretty but the Heskett's Road keeps on happening. Do we do proactive?
Geez, been in my life fly tipping. So, we're not funded for any fly tipping, any level of service. I spend $2 million a year on my operational budget on fly tipping across the city. That's both calling fees and dumping fees. Ali, who manages our waste, he's put together a paper for council to consider regarding different enforcement teams and education teams. I think it's a really good idea. We pick it up. So we've tried different approaches. We thought we could leave it for a while to see what would happen. And after about 2 days of leaving fly tipping, it's like an open skip in the street. Everyone drives past and thinks that's where we put our rubbish, and it grows massively and exponentially. So we try and pick it up as soon as we can. We did have some cameras that picked up enforcement cameras. After 2 years of using them, we had 0 enforcements from council. All I can tell you is the bar set by the enforcement team is remarkably high and requires individual people to write witness statements, to almost collar the person doing it and get a photo. I mean, it's just crazy. It would just never happen. So while the enforcement cameras work, they get moved around, people figure out they're there and just dump in another location. So that contract's been paused just now because it wasn't cheap and we weren't seeing the real value from it. So I'm working with Alec just now on trying to get his paper rapidly moved through the chain. Certain areas attract it and we monitor it regularly through our contractors.
Actually, one last question around Heskett's Road. But residents out there who regularly phone me around hedge obstruction at corners like Buchanan's Road and down at Madison's Road end. There's some pretty overgrown hedges that cause a lot of visibility. Is that anything that we can work on, or is that purely up to the landowners?
Yeah, some come through to me, and I go and look at them, and then I send them on to Siobhan, or some actually most of them come through the call centre directly to the asset protection team. But yes,
anything that's affecting a sightline is a safety issue. So
and
sometimes it's, or probably most often it's on private property. So we'll go and ask them to deal with it. Again, SnapSend sold is the best.
Okay, all good.
Thank you.
Mark? Just one last question before you go. We're out of time. I was just scrolling down through the slides. I just came across your safety graph.
Oh yeah.
You've got the serious and fatal. Just a general question on that. So how do you define a serious crash? You've got fatal, which is understandable, but serious, do they get to hospital? They're serious, or if not, they don't end up in hospital. It's not serious.
So it's defined. There's a definition. So this is all using police data. There is a definition for what a serious injury is, and it's a broken limb or inpatient to hospital. It's a pretty serious injury. You'd be telling your family about it, that's for sure. So there is a definition. We don't define it. Even with fatals, it's fatal within 28 days of the incident. So even with that, it's not as clear cut as you think it would be. But there are very strict definitions around what fatal, serious, and even minor and non-injury.
Who defines it? NZTA?
Police.
Police.
The police.
Right.
So like I said, it uses police data. So all it does is the NZTA hold a database of police data that we have access to.
Great. Okay.
So I know some councillors have issues with the database, but it's really consistent year on year. It's done in the same way. If it misses stuff, it misses the same stuff year after year. So it is a consistent database.
But it's good to see that it's going.
Yeah, and I mean the big thing with that is that I pulled the New Zealand data because, like, my car has a sensor at the front. If I try and drive at someone, it hams the brake. It slams the brake on. And so I was like, oh, maybe it's just all to do with cars, but actually New Zealand as a whole is pretty level over that period. And so we're definitely doing something in Christchurch that's bringing that down.
Oh, this is the whole of New Zealand? Or Christchurch?
That's Christchurch. That's Christchurch.
So that's good to see.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think what I'd just say too and point out, because we've had some stats shared recently that are taken from our own website, our Smart View, which showed the number of crashes across the city. So it's just being very clear that we're always going to get crashes, nose to tail, minor crashes, and we'll do as much as we can to reduce the number of crashes. Our main focus is on reducing death and serious injury. So minimising, those crashes that do cause death and serious injury, that's our focus. So I think it's just being very careful when we're talking about the number of crashes that absolutely we want to reduce the number, but the focus is on the harm. And so that's kind of where we're trying to address. So and as I say, our Smart View website is not clear. It does show, it might show a real heat area of at a particular intersection, a whole lot of crashes. They are most likely, or could be, they're not to be taken as that intersection is really dangerous. It's just that there's a lot of crashes, and as I say, they might just be minor nose to tails, those sort of things. So yeah, just statistics. Damn statistics, as we know, damn lies. You've got to be just careful around how we interpret those. Yeah.
Right.
Can I one thing? I promise 20 seconds.
No.
Seconds. But I just want to make this slide. So this is the goals from from the transport strategy that council agreed sort of a year or so ago. Our LTP is being written to point at that. So that is what everything you see when we're developing our LTP will be to try and hit those goals. Well-managed transport assets is what we're really pushing for. We've made it, the Infrastructure Commission made a recommendation that you spend at least $60 cents in every dollar on looking after what you've got as opposed to improving. Our thinking is that we're a bit behind on the looking after what you've got, so we're going to recommend 75 cents in every dollar is spent on looking after what you've got. So that'll make that improvement section very, very small, really. So there'll be some hard choices to be made in there.
Right.
And that's
Great.
That's it.
Thank you very much. It's been really good to hear from you. And I think everybody's happy with all their questions being answered. So thank you and good night.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Mark, you're not yet dismissed.
Yes.
And so we are moving on to the next one, which is the governance matters. I think just before we go into the item number 4, can we just ask Mark before he leaves? The outcome of the workshop this morning of Head Start, yes. Yeah, we got the slides, but I mean, just what happened.
Well, we had massive technology problems, so unfortunately not to see it.
Yeah.
But we kind of ended up, I think, heading towards a Selwyn, Waimak, Christchurch, Huranui as a
option
amalgamation, even without Selwyn and Waimak agreeing to it. We believe that Huranui and possibly Timaru will back us on it. And
Ashburton?
No, Timaru is keen, happy to back it and say, look, we will be your partner to get you into the Head Start by having our agreement that what you're proposing makes sense.
So do you mean Timaru is coming?
No,
they just support it.
They'll just support it.
They just support it.
And bring it in there.
Is it as an alternative to having them in ours, effectively?
You don't have to be amalgamated to be part of the proposal.
Exactly, but I mean,
you don't have to agree from your.
So previously, the option was just Christchurch, Selwyn, and Waimakariri. Hurunui wasn't part of it, so now they've added Hurunui.
Well, Hurunui was kind of always part of the thinking because we can't leave Hurunui as an orphan on their own. Because if Kaikoura goes north to Marlborough, then Hurunui would be potentially stuck out there.
And they can't pay for themselves.
So we need to drag them into our amalgamation to make them viable. It's all part of the Canterbury Mayoral Forum's agreement that they don't want to leave anybody as an orphan. So that's kind of where the feeling is, and we would feel like we're heading, rather than having the greater metro, Christchurch, and then others left around us as rural councils. We're looking at the idea of, well, it probably makes more sense for us to have not so much control, but influence in our headwaters, because our water comes from Waimak, recharge the aquifers. So to have them as part of the greater council as a whole, that helps to protect our waters.
And then Tahu was also supporting catchment.
Because this brings in the catchment thinking, which is useful. So that's kind of where we're heading, I think.
Right, but not yet sure.
Yeah,
that's on the 4th or 5th?
4th is the start of the meeting, and the 5th is potentially.
That's the deputation for the 4th.
Yeah.
But then on the 5th, are you having?
Yeah, it's a continuation of the same meeting. It may take 2 days.
Right. So you don't know if you're going to make a decision on the 4th or.
No.
Okay. Okay.
But it's due by the 9th.
Yes, it's due by the 9th.
Okay.
So we've told us today that community boards will be in for the area reports on Tuesday.
Yeah.
And present their Head Start deputations at that same time.
At the same time, yes. So we've got 10 minutes
to
play with.
It sounded like there are only 2 potentially at the stage that have said they'll do a Head Start. But I'm sure.
A Head Start only.
No, they'll do the area report as usual, but then they haven't.
Oh, the cemetery.
Yeah.
Right.
So they haven't sort of decided.
Did they tell you which board?
No.
Oh,
so I think I quickly queried Cody and said, hey, are you guys doing us a deputation? Because I hope you do. Yeah.
So that's what biggest class will discuss.
So,
Yeah,
that we're going to.
We'll leave it as-
Right.
Thank you.
Thank you, mate.
And we still have Sarah. Great.
Yeah, I'm still here. Can I just ask, is this being live streamed now or no?
Yeah.
Yes, it is live streamed
Okay, thank you.
and it's still part of the info session agenda.
Enjoy.
Thank you. But
So we'll start with the draft waste management and minimisation plan. I think Faye has the feedback that has been received to date. There's questions that need to be answered, and then if there's any comments, but yeah, essentially the last part of our information session is time for you guys to use to complete these two conversations. And there's nothing much more for me to add.
so where do we start? Question number 1.
So this is just printed off of the feedback form, basically the online form into a Word document, and have incorporated there, colour-coded, the feedback received to date. So yellow is suggestions by Marie, green is suggestions by Sarah, and blue suggested comments and feedback by Helen.
Yeah.
So they don't, it's for you to decide what, if any of it gets adopted now. But I thought that might be helpful. That was it.
No, that's good. Thank you.
Right. So
Yeah, thanks, Faye.
first question was
First matter is separate glass curbside collection, bottles and jars only. So the council proposes investigating the introduction of an additional curbside bin for glass bottles and jars. They would need a dedicated local glass processor to assess the material for quality and grade it for end markets. This new service would cost ratepayers in the vicinity of 65 to 75 per household per year. That's based on a provisional assessment, whatever that means. So the council is asking, does the board support the introduction of a separate glass curbside collection?
Can I just ask a question?
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
Faye, does that mean that if this is introduced, every household will get a bin if they want one and effectively are paying that amount per year?
Well, that's my understanding, Sarah, from it. Not explicit,
Because I don't know.
It will be, all ratepayers will be contributing to this, whether they're using the scheme.
whether they use it or not.
Yeah.
But everyone would get a bin.
Everyone would get a bin.
It would be available to everybody, yeah.
But would they automatically get a bin, or they?
Yes.
See, I don't know that I can support that as just a flat thing. I think that that's going to be really wasteful because there's going to be a lot of people that won't use it.
My residents have got a separate but similar concern, which is that we've already got a lot of bins that take up pretty much all of the footpath space in our area. Add another bin, you lose basically your whole footpath.
There's also extra trap and extra staffing and everything else that also goes with it. I just didn't actually understand from reading it. It says the motivation for them to do it is it gives them new opportunities for it to be recycled back into glass products, which on the face of it makes sense, but actually not really, because it actually just costs money.
Yeah, with
It just
the
costs
return
extra money. So
investment.
it was kind of like it's good to do if you want to recycle glass into glass.
Or into something else, because that's
Yeah.
what we were asking. I was asking earlier whether we're using it as an ingredient in roading aggregate is what it's here, and they said we don't use it here, but Bailey pointed out it could be used elsewhere in New Zealand, not just in Christchurch.
Yeah.
So because I grew up in the Philippines, we do have separate glass recycling and glass collection bottles like that. So
can I just say that it's saying we propose to investigate. So I'm comfortable with them.
Yeah, to investigate.
Yeah. As
So
long
it's
as
not automatic yet, Sarah.
Yeah.
They're just still going to investigate.
it. Okay. But I do know,
point out.
I do know around here that there's problems with collection on this side of Riccarton Road. So, but let's investigate.
Yeah.
I just wonder if. Oh, sorry. You go.
Because it's different. The paragraph says we propose to investigate, but then the question was, do you support the introduction?
I don't think we should answer, do you support?
I think investigation.
Yeah,
I think not sure.
Is there a comment section?
Is not sure.
Can I suggest something else? So other board members may not be aware, you can get an additional 240 litre, so it's the largest bin, a yellow bin for about $40 a year that I pay to Waste Management is via the council. So it's half the price of this. If there's issues that people have around, maybe they don't have enough space in the bin to recycle glass, for example, and then they just chuck it out on the street or something, they can actually just get another yellow bin and they can put other stuff in it as well.
But then this was meant to at least stop them from doing the sorting in the facility because it's being done from the source already.
I think that's a separate issue though, because I would look at that and I go, well, so soft plastics, for example, can't currently be recycled. If we think about, let's say you've got a can of baked beans and you take the top off, the top, that lid of the bin, what do you call it? The can. It cannot be recycled.
I put that
which
in
is
the
ridiculous.
red bin.
But it's because they can't process it because it's so small. That's really the issue that it should be focused on solving, is how do we actually recycle more of it without introducing another bin?
Sure, but some streets have bin bad, if you will. They don't get the you've been good stickers because their recycling just isn't usable, because there's just so much essentially crap. Sorry to all the viewers at home, so much crap going into the yellow bins that basically the whole truckload is basically assessed as not worth it. So
even if you've got a large flat, would it actually make more sense to spend, maybe it's not 75, maybe it's actually 150 on an extra red bin or something like that? I know we try to minimize the amount of waste, but if we're thinking about in practical terms for some people, it might actually be more achievable to avoid the contamination that way.
I mean, I'm sure that's true for individuals, but we're looking at it from a council level, the entire system. So
we're not. We're looking at it from a community board level.
Sure, but the proposal is at a council. I do get what you're saying, but the proposal is at the council level. I don't know. I think. Oh, sorry, you go, Sarah.
Yeah.
I was going to say the motivation sounds like it's not about reducing, helping people with their waste. It's about making more giving more options for glass.
Glass into glass. I don't know. I just.
So
it doesn't make a lot.
I mean, I think if we say the first paragraph, can you say there are difficulties already in medium density areas such as Lower Riccarton, where there's a transient population and there's not enough space.
Yeah.
So I mean that would have to come.
I think that's the fine.
Well,
actually, I think it's quite good.
I think we should say Lower Riccarton.
Okay.
But it has a particular issue at present.
Yeah. What's an issue in Hornby as well?
And there's not so much Dean's Avenue actually, it's more this area around here.
So what about, so what I've added in there, so these are just my words, is the board has concerns that the scheme will result in an increased number of bins to be left on the footpath affecting accessibility. And we could add in there, this is a particular issue in higher density.
Well, if you say we currently have an issue, even with high
areas,
medium density areas.
Medium to high.
Medium to high, yes, that's it. Because of a somewhat transient population and also there's no space.
Narrow streets.
Four houses on that quarter acre rather than one house. So
and they're doing it every fortnight, right? Was the proposal every fortnight? So it'll be like 3 bins at a time.
Yeah,
it'll be the
and
green,
it's already a problem.
because the green
areas.
is every week.
Yeah.
So green, red, and whatever the glass is blue, for example, and then the following week, 3.
It could be quite a few bins.
Yeah,
it already is in some
yellow.
areas.
Three
It's
at a
not just
time.
freaking an issue either, Helen. It's an issue in Hornby as well.
And like there's a lack of space on the footpaths, let alone on people's properties.
Yeah, that's also true.
And it can spill out onto the road as well sometimes.
I have an issue with that. I just sleep on the road.
it's something Garth was always going on about. Yes, I mean, and Jocelyn too, to be fair. It wasn't just Garth.
Yeah, I think that's perfect. What about Faye?
But maybe they've got to look at some other options around these high to medium density areas.
Yeah, I agree.
Maybe at the end of the road or something.
I think it's worth mentioning. Yeah, but I think it's worth mentioning that specifically.
Also,
yeah.
I've got, what I'm hearing so far is that we're not sure. The board has concerns that the scheme will result in increased numbers of bins to be left on the footpath affecting accessibility. There is already an issue with this, particularly in medium to high density areas. Now, what Sarah had suggested previously was the board suggests an investigation of a user pay scheme that provides for home and businesses to opt into a separate glass curbside collection scheme and pay a fee if
Which
they
is
have large
fantastic.
amounts of glass.
Well, I pay extra fee to have an extra yellow bin, but I don't think anyone else on my street does. And that's fine. We just recycle a lot of
So you're
stuff.
happy to leave that in, or do you want to adopt that?
Suggest adding,
I think,
vehicles to-
no, I think it's everybody. I mean, everybody's got the opportunity.
Yeah.
And like now, you don't have to put out a green bin if you haven't
can paper.
got enough green recyclables.
Aware of
You
that.
just don't do it.
Yeah.
So I don't.
Helen, do you want that second paragraph in or not?
No, I think they investigate, but I don't think people opt in. It's going to have to be.
You can opt in. You can already opt in.
No,
an area opts in or out, but but not people.
It's a user pay thing, isn't it? I mean, at the moment, you're not in as to your use, but you'll be paying for it anyway.
Yes. If you don't, I mean, we
like the green bin, you don't have to put it out every week.
No, or it's just there.
But you've got it.
It's
up to you. You don't need.
And it seems to work. I think so far it's worked on the whole.
Yeah, I don't know.
Everybody has bins.
I don't know how practical it would be to have a completely separate run for glass if you have one person on the street sign up for it. Whereas it's a bit different if you've got everyone's got a yellow bin, and then if you're an extra one, then it's not actually that much of a deal for the guy to pick it up. If you only had, do you know what I mean? So if you are doing it on a user basis, it's probably quite tricky.
And that cost would be.
It would be probably quite a lot more.
Significant.
Yes. So you've got a 70.75% on the rates.
But then it may not be worthwhile, in which case you wouldn't necessarily do it. But my issue is I can't see, to be honest, many people going, oh yay, there's a separate glass thing. Now I can put all my glass into a bin that's the size of what? The green bin?
80 litres.
Yeah, well, how much glass do people use? Like that's a lot of glass.
The green or the yellow?
We use quite a lot.
Yeah.
Are you a big boozer, Helen?
Not particularly at present, no. No, we probably use a lot of water and Coke.
There may not be people that want their amount of glass shown, observed by the community.
You'd have to define what you mean by glass too, actually.
Glass jars and bottles.
But
wine bottles.
Those bottles that look like glass but probably aren't.
Beer.
So
bottles of beer.
I mean, you might have to define glass.
Ketchup.
It's too complex actually.
Alcohol bottles. So what?
So we could probably add an extra one if you want to cover that. You could probably say and advocates for the promotion of, I don't know, second yellow bin or something. In lieu. I don't know.
I don't know. I think we should keep this confined to what we are asking for the investigation to include.
Purely an investigation.
Yeah.
I think we stress with that blue one, we support an investigation in an easy to operate glass curbside collection.
Yeah. So just take out the blue one.
I'll take out the
So
middle
it's
paragraph
investigation underlined.
and put the board, however, supports investigation into an
investigation. Yeah. And to understand, to have clearer sort of guidance on. I'm a bit hazy about this too. I mean, I presume it's a separate bin, and I presume you put the glass in there. But if they can explain a bit more where the glass goes and what happens to it.
Well, we don't know.
So people will understand it a bit better.
Yeah. Well, that's why they're investigating it. So I don't think
investigation.
Yeah.
I think the concern also on the first paragraph is not just affecting accessibility, it's the space.
Yeah.
The
provision
of space.
Yeah.
I thought not just accessibility.
Clear, isn't it?
Okay. Affecting. What's another word for accessibility?
It's another
Availability of the space.
I think I think it is affecting accessibility, but they're saying also just in private
on the
people's
footpath
private
and space in private households.
Yeah.
And Cody,
storage
these
space
around, You used the example of the lid, so there's already some things that can't be recycled.
Mm.
Do you want to comment on that you would prefer that work is done to try and increase the amount that can already be recycled?
Yeah, because I'm pretty sure the government actually changed the recycling standards nationwide, and we were recycling more. I'm pretty sure we're actually recycling less now.
Yeah.
We're almost pulled down to lowest common denominator, which doesn't make a lot of sense.
Are we?
Yeah, I believe so.
Happened a few years
We actually can't recycle as much anymore.
Is that because I thought younger people were keen on recycling?
No, the government actually banned us from processing.
We
Not
had to
doing it.
change a bunch of stuff that could go
We had to
in
make
the
it
yellow
worse.
bins,
In
which
terms of oil recycling, if I recall correctly.
I mean, this isn't, I haven't read it in this material, but I mean, you can recycle material, but it gets made into stuff, you know,
Yeah.
but so that stuff needs to then come back. So we can send recycling off and it can get made into picnic tables and chairs, but if no one's actually been purchasing that,
Yes, I
it's
know.
not actually within the ecosystem of, you know, being recycled. We've just moved the product. But true recycling is, you know, then that things comes back, which I know in other towns where they don't do soft plastic recycling because nothing is actually ever coming back that is made from the soft plastic that's been sent off.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's kind of one way system.
Yeah.
just want to quickly go back to something you were saying earlier, Helen, about something that we should ask for the investigation to include. You mentioned, you know, options for end of street, you know.
Sorry?
You mentioned that we should ask them to investigate options for end of street, you know, collecting large amounts. So I think we should specifically include that in what we ask them to investigate.
Yes, and we can ask them to have a look at something on a street-wide basis.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like around the university, for example, might make sense, actually.
Yeah.
Especially if you think about like broken glass on the roads or something. Maybe they analyze it and they go, hey, this area actually has a lot of broken glass. Maybe we'll give them a glass bin or something. Could be a targeted rate. Could target it to a certain area.
Yeah, so I think it's worth us asking them to include that specifically in the investigation.
Yeah, where they might benefit from it.
Because in theory, they should know what's happening around the city and potentially Australia, other cities, potentially Australia, if there's some good recycling schemes. I mean, they should kind of know that.
Yeah, I think Timaru has a glass recycling, I think.
Something like this, just say, including street or area-wide collection points.
Sounds good to me, Helen.
That's a good point, actually. Can you recycle glass
Area-wide collection
directly
points.
by bringing it in?
Yeah, that's a good point.
Can you bring it
Street or
to the
area-wide collection points.
Yeah,
I don't know.
yeah. Drop off.
And we probably just need to say it needs to be affordable. I mean, if it's 75, it's actually quite a lot.
Easy and affordable.
Some people.
And affordable and easy to operate.
Affordable.
All right, next
Happy with that? Yep.
Cool.
So the next thing we're looking at is developing ways to repurpose and extend the use of inorganic materials. It's unwanted household goods. We propose to implement a new service to collect, store, repurpose and redistribute unwanted household goods in partnership with other service providers, which would cost ratepayers $25 per household per year. Again, a preliminary assessment.
I think the way that we have to think about that is the $25, that actually probably is an investment compared to the other one. Because if you're thinking about reduction in fly tipping and that kind of thing as well, then that actually probably pays for itself.
So there's no details on how that collection and storage.
I think we should say, Faye, I think I wrote it through, it's particularly important in Riccarton, because I was out the other day and there were some chairs on the street, not on the street, on the pavement, and they wanted the chairs gone. They were quite acceptable chairs. So, you know, there was no trouble. But I know Auckland has a once a year collection. And we need it particularly in Riccarton with the students and young people, if we can stress that. And
when they're moving in and out.
Because they're moving out of flats and or into flats.
For comments.
And they haven't got the money to they haven't got the money.
They might not have the transport.
Like I have to pay.
You're not going to take your couch on the bus.
Yeah, you hire a trailer for 3 days, it's actually
I
quite
might
expensive.
take
Assuming that you have a car.
those ones up
Yeah.
down here.
Yeah.
Does anybody
See what
know?
it looks like when I go
Does
online
it
to do
open it up for everyone to use?
Oh, yes, I think it's to everyone,
Yeah.
but just to stress in Riccarton in particular, this issue. I did send it through as a written statement. It's particularly important to say in Riccarton, because we do have the issue constantly here. Where people don't know how to, it's young people in particular, don't have the money to get rid of furniture they don't want. But it's still quite acceptable furniture. It's not dumpy stuff.
So we're asking 3 things here: develop ways to repurpose and extend the use of an organic. They're asking about the setup of a litter team that would actually do that. Establishing a
5-person team.
Yeah. To respond to incidents of littering or illegal dumping.
Yes.
And the third thing is.
I think given the challenges that we heard about earlier.
That was it.
Then I think that we realistically have to do that. I've personally observed someone littering, taken a picture, been abused by that person, reported it, and then even had her like physically doing it with her car number plate, and they're like, "Nah, can't enforce something." And I'm just like, what an actual waste of time. It wasn't even worth me paying any notice to it. So if we can actually.
Yeah, I think
so that previous collection is people who want to get rid of good, reasonably okay furniture, etc.
Salvation Army.
So it's not quite the same as illegal dumping. They're
That's
not
a separate
dumping
question.
it, they're almost putting it on the street.
Yeah.
Well,
so someone takes it away.
That's the next plan, the policy.
2 parts of the same thing kind of thing, you know.
Because people do that, Helen, like, I mean, you're right, around Riccarton all of the time. So they might put a couch out that
for
is in
free.
good condition for free. But if that doesn't get collected,
yes, what happens?
Then it rains.
Yeah,
then now it's
condition.
now it's not in good condition anymore.
Mattress or something.
So if they had a collection system, I know in Auckland they do it once a year. And they might do it once a year in different suburbs, different times.
Okay.
But we've often talked about that when I was on council, and nothing ever happened. So I think it's really good that
this is what this is.
Yeah,
Exactly.
it's
And
like
would be working
once a year, and it might be whatever suburbs, and they come round and take it away.
I would suggest,
Good.
if we're going to talk about that, at least a semester alignment rather than a year.
Yes. It's November.
But I think in Auckland, I've heard they advertise the day. And so everybody's putting it out, and those people who are actually in the market to pick up a useful bed or something can go around and look ahead of the team.
Makes sense.
Can we just add that remark around the semesters, I think, particularly for
The board
Ricky?
supports investigation of these.
I think it does.
Because they're actually saying, as you pointed out, Cody, they do say, do you support the introduction of a service that improves how we manage? But are we supporting the introduction, or are we supporting the investigation of it?
I think conceptually we support both, right? That we.
Oh, this is a general question.
Yes,
Is
that's
that
the
in the
thing.
correct place? I'm not sure it is.
We propose to establish a team,
I'm pretty sure it's in the
the
previous question.
previous one.
It's just in the wrong place.
Yeah, I'm not sure where online I will fit them in, but
Okay.
I will
Yeah,
fit
sure,
them in.
sure.
You know,
That's
I
fine.
know,
Yeah.
The sport. So are we going to say introduction of these initiatives or investigation?
Introduction.
Okay.
Because as Cody was saying
It's
earlier,
costing us
it's just it's
$2
already
bucks.
costing us a lot of money, so something needs to happen.
You know, it's
So
$4.
what's on those 3 initiatives?
Yeah, I'll shift this.
Because there's another issue I've heard consistently as well, is when I report some particular issue and I go, well, why are you not doing it? And they say, oh, we actually don't have any staff for that. So if we say no to that, then no one can actually complain about that issue.
Can I say they're going to have
this
penalties
initiative
for litter?
So that
If you bring in a litter control, you'll have to have penalties.
Storing.
Like in constant fine of
One was the
$100 or something.
There already is, Helen,
I
but
mean,
they don't enforce it.
Because I think you don't.
There is already rules like
these
this.
two.
There is already rules, and
So
people
clear.
do dump currently, and it costs us $2 million a year.
I know.
What this is trying to do is to be proactive and support at both ends. So actually, the people who are dumping, there's another avenue for them to dispose of their goods. And then also the community organisations who receive these goods, we can manage how they receive them. Because there's also examples where Salvation Army they come on a Monday morning and their car park is just full of rubbish that
That's
they
right.
then have to
I know.
dispose of.
Absolutely.
So it's, trying to, what already happens, do it in a more meaningful and purposeful way.
Yeah. Because it's a fine of $100 starting point. So again, so if they actually start catching
For
people
effect litter or
for litter, then
they've
will
never
actually-
wanted, the staff have never wanted to do it before, so.
They
I mean,
haven't had-
that's really
they haven't had the-
They have to have an enforcement. Otherwise, it's just like, oh, you've got a litter problem, so what?
So this will be the staff then.
Yes,
Because right now.
we
it's
give
not staff.
$50.
Yeah, so we need to give them the money to get set up so they can actually start doing it, and then it should.
I mean, people
Pay for
shouldn't
itself,
drop
people
this.
stop
I mean,
doing
it's accepted practice that you don't do it, isn't it? But people do.
Yeah, people do it.
I don't know what the motivation is or how, but it's worth a try at managing it.
Yeah. Preferably without truncheons and without tasers.
But you have to have enforcement at some level.
We could warrant the security guards at the car. What about that? Oh, I thought that was interesting.
Well, I don't think anyone wants to be recorded right now saying that they're in support of the truncheons and tasers approach. Being that we're still live.
I didn't suggest that. Okay.
So what have we got now?
Um,
All I've got now is the board supports the introduction of these two initiatives, meaning the, collection of the furniture and the board suggests that there be investigation of collection at optimum times, such as the end of each university semester.
Yeah.
Yep.
Encourage them to be proactive.
Or the end of the university year, really, isn't it?
It has to do with the semester. We heard about that.
It's okay, is it?
Because people finish halfway through the year now.
Okay.
Sometimes.
Twice a year.
They were telling us about that at the forum.
Let's do it once a year.
No,
Well, no, we're saying it's every semester, which is what quite.
Twice a year.
It's a term, isn't it? Do you call it a
No,
term?
term-
no,
there-
it's just 6 months basically.
No, 2 terms in 1 semester.
Oh, okay.
But it's people
Are
consider
you
it the optimum
doing
time.
Semester properly, yeah.
No, 2 terms in 1 semester
So a comment that
and 2 semesters in 1 year.
Marie had made earlier was I would
That's fine.
encourage the team of 5 to be also proactive rather than reactive and work closely with volunteers for the educational campaign. Happy to keep that? Perfect.
Yeah.
So if you're in a nightmare flat, you stay in your nightmare flat while the semester's on because you've got assignments, you've got study. But the moment the end of semester comes, even if it's not the end of the year.
You're out of there.
Exactly.
Are you out of there?
Yeah, I've never done it, but it's pretty common.
But yeah, that's pretty common. Okay, next.
The board supports proposals regarding litter and discarded goods as this is a particular issue in Riccarton. Do you want?
I think I'd put in potentially through students and other young people.
I don't know if
moving
we'd be
house.
identifying anybody.
Well, I think we need to put that in because that's where probably the worst issues happen.
I don't think it's limited to students though in the Riccarton area.
Students.
It's not, but young people, students and.
We don't want to identify, or just be general about it.
Okay. But that's
yeah.
why it happens.
But we could add, and the board supports introduction of these 2 initiatives, as litter and discarded goods is a particular issue in Riccarton.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah, it is what it is, yeah.
Yeah, but that's accurate.
It won't be happening so much in Fendleton, I wouldn't think.
I don't know. The students probably don't afford
Students,
There's also young families in Riccarton who need to move quickly because they ran out of money for the rent, for example, or whatever.
I've heard about that. Yeah.
I mean, I've talked to other councillors and they don't understand at times the issues in this area, Riccarton, Hornby, and Horsfield's a bit different, but yes. I've wandered around Shirley doing some national government pamphlets, not national, but for the central government election. And it was so tidy, and the houses were so tidy and tidy lawns, and it was quite different. So if you're coming over here, I mean, that surely councillor won't have a good grip on what's over here. Vice versa, we aren't aware of what's happening in Shirley. I was so surprised.
Please provide any comments below.
other matter we have to look at is the draft of an illegal dumping policy. Do we support the introduction of the policy? Yes, so we're happy with that?
That
Yes.
looks good.
Do we have any comments? The scope should also include hoarding in private properties.
So this came about because I'm with the Hornby Community Patrol, and when we come across properties where the hoarding stuff are all outside the property, and you can see it from the street, from the public view, and we say, oh, that's a safety issue, or that's a residential amenity issue, because it's all junk outside. It's like a junkyard on the lawn, on the.
I think it says in private properties, it's probably on private properties you're talking about, or else you wouldn't.
Yes, on private properties.
I think that's fine.
So are you going to only limit it to where storage is visible to the public?
Well, if it's inside your house, we don't have any authority.
What I mean is, if it's a
just take
health,
the word storage out.
if it's a safety issue that's bordering on
I
somebody
think
else's
council
property.
does look at that. If it's a health and safety issue inside the house, they will.
Dumping and illegal.
Okay.
But this is like storing it, outside of your yard.
When you've got hills and mountains.
Yeah, mountains of junk you can see from the street.
They're just creating future deposits for archaeologists.
Yeah, I was surprised. I saw that was on Community Patrol, and I saw why nobody's doing anything about it.
Archaeologists genuinely do find that stuff useful when they dig up a midden, but it's not good in the present, and I don't think we should.
Because they did mention in the policy that includes certain circumstances with private properties. So I thought to point that out with the junk in the junkyard.
Yeah, sounds good to me.
Good idea.
And we've replaced.
And we support.
Are we saying it should be extended or it should be investigated?
No, I think that's fine. We'll see.
Even if the policy
comes
out, it's saying basically nothing about it, it should still be mentioned in the policy anyway.
It's recognized that there's a problem. Like that.
I think there's been examples where that's happened before, and you had like a guy who maybe had like a bunch of tires on his property. And then eventually it's like abandoned or something, and it has to be cleaned up. So it's more about being proactive, I think.
Yeah, people who build towers generally aren't planning for the windy days.
I'll just put including providing for enforcement action.
Yeah.
We'll support.
And then the next one, do you support the waste property? And this is Marie's comment. I support, so we'll just make that the board supports.
The board supports.
Right.
You're going to keep in the great idea. At the end.
I think it's really good they're looking at these things actually, because there have been long-standing issues which have been talked about but haven't been enacted. So I think we're really positive.
If we don't
about
want to
them
be
taking these steps.
it's so great.
Particularly the little one, I'm really surprised at.
Is that it?
Yes.
They do sometimes find like junk from middens that were like made during settlement, old plates and things like that. It's interesting, but it's definitely not worth the trouble that it causes other people. And I think we'll have to trust the future archaeologists to fend for themselves.
All good with that one, Faye?
Yep, I'm just saving it. Move on.
This one is still. All right, well then the next one is the Head Start pathway.
Can I just add a couple more things in there?
Oh yeah.
Yep, I'll just call them out, and I'll send it through afterwards if everyone agrees. I did actually read the whole thing, unfortunately, which was really long. They talked about shared collections for medium and high density areas, which I think we should probably consider. There's talk of the organics processing plant being relocated to Hornby, so we would ask that it does not create adverse effects for the neighbours. Investigate solutions for recycling soft plastics.
Do you want that written on the?
Yeah, I'll send them through afterwards.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Cody's just saying if everyone agrees with these,
Yeah.
Oh,
you'll
okay.
send them through and
Yeah.
they
I'll
can include them in
incorporate
the
them.
draft.
So I missed the third one.
So investigate solutions for recycling soft plastics. So it could even be
It's being done already,
in
isn't
the community.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, don't we?
You can't put it in your yellow bin.
Not
No, we put it in New World.
Right,
There's
that's
a
fine.
whole
But it's
big-
private. It's not the council.
Yes, it's not a council scheme, but do you need a council scheme?
But it's being done already. Yeah.
Okay, that's fine. I'll take
Because
that.
we
Yeah.
just take out the bread bags there, the soft plastics in there.
I
And
don't
they
know that it is
advertise it.
though. It used to be at New World Wigram and they don't have it anymore. Where do you drop yours off, Marie?
Halswell, New World.
Oh, maybe it's just fewer places have got it.
Or maybe I think they had it in Wigram. It was on a separate isolated part of the New World in Wigram.
They used to years
Yeah.
ago, but they haven't for ages.
No, I think a few months ago, I did check if they had the a drop off point there.
All right,
They did.
well, I'll take it off. Consider the installation of new rubbish bins in community parks as well. Because in the past, they've actually said they want to take more of them out. I think particularly,
To put it back in.
I think there's a number of parks where it could probably benefit from that.
So just review, because they
Just to
did
consider.
have the zero litter, zero rubbish.
Yeah, but we're not.
Campaign on that before. Litter free park, except for some specific parks.
Regional parks or something,
The
wasn't it?
regional
Yeah.
parks,
Yeah.
because I think they did do away with all of those. It's a
Yeah.
litter free park.
It was
I know, but it was a bit about the cost. But if we're talking about putting $75 worth of cost on someone, I'd rather be able to drop something in a park.
It was to do with the cost
Yeah,
of the
glass,
collection, I think. wasn't it?
Recycled.
No comments on the robot bin?
If we don't want to put it, I'll take it off. There's talk about waste to energy, which has been quite controversial overseas because those plants can emit particulate
What's
to
that,
make
waste
people
to-
quite unwell. So they would burn the landfill basically.
Oh, yes,
Which
yeah.
will emit into the air.
Yep.
So I think it's good to actually consider it.
Oh, the burning of
But I wouldn't
rubbish.
want it in Hornby or Pribbleton or Templeton.
I thought that's not allowed anyway by ECAN because
It's in this proposal to be considered, but they haven't asked us to comment on it, other than in that freeform box. Yeah. So I was quite concerned to see that. It's in the weeds of it quite far.
You've got a hard copy, I see.
Oh, yes, I always get one from council when I'm here.
But
It's probably what I need.
But no, they have it at the reception area.
Oh, true.
Yes, downstairs, yes.
Oh, even downstairs, and
Yeah.
Civic, they do as well.
Yeah.
So,
At the
but
library all
it
the time as well.
could be subject to,
Well, it might be at Cape Valley and that might be fine.
but it could be subject to filters and, emission levels and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Restrictions.
It'll be-
But we just had a hazardous waste facility consented in Pribbleton without really anyone knowing about it.
Hey,
You know, having the organics facility also going in and the promising absolutely.
Excuse me just a minute. Just
Comment on that.
So I'd hope that it's fine, but I just want to articulate that.
Comment on that.
Yeah.
Yep.
I think waste to energy is actually a great idea if it would otherwise go on the ground anyway. But we have to mitigate the effects.
Speaking of, I just wanted to follow up quickly. You said no adverse effects on neighbours. I'd suggest no extraordinary adverse effects on neighbours, just because there's always going to be adverse effects when you put something in, like shade, for example.
What I've written is ensure the relocation of organics processing to Hornby does not create adverse effects.
Yeah, I'd say
yeah, it is
extraordinary.
here, the Hornby Organics Processing Facility must not adversely impact on the
Serious.
community's amenity.
Okay.
Yeah, just because it's like, it's going to be a taller building, for example, and the shade might not be in scope, for example.
Yeah.
It's always, more than minor effects, isn't it? They talk about, not.
Yeah. What else was also available? Oh, the other thing on glass recycling. So it also mentioned that a third of your red bin today is actually organics. So of the stuff going to landfill in the red bin, 1/3 of that is actually stuff that should be in the green bin today. So if that's the case, I don't know how many people would actually use a glass bin.
It's kind of interesting. That's probably where some of the burnable matter comes from.
There was mention about the Cars Road landfill is actually now getting monitored, which is interesting because that's where the Cart Club is. I don't know what's actually happening there that they're having to monitor it, but I would like to find out.
Monitored, there was some investigations done because of the reuse of the.
It was in the top
park.
10 most hazardous landfills.
Hmm.
Yeah, and so I just want to find out. Abandoned shopping trolley as well when they have waste in it. We need to enable that to be collected.
Yeah.
The shopping trolleys, when they have waste in it, the shops won't collect it oftentimes. So we should probably address that.
But no, we report it. We don't.
That was referred to in the litter team, subject to adoption. This team of 5 whereabouts would respond to incidents of littering or legal dumping.
And support them to recover the abandoned shopping trolleys. Oh yeah, I suppose it's covered,
And
they should recover abandoned shopping trolleys. But if there's, because if there's rubbish on it.
Yeah, so I
the
assume
team
if
would-
anybody else is picking them up, that's fine, but any leftover ones that are.
The team would also
deal with.
Deal with it.
And there's mention about contract performance as well, and talk about how they communicate to residents. I know it's been an issue. Oftentimes you'll see online, people will be like, oh, hey, this street didn't get collected or something. I feel like that's also important that people should know about it. Yeah.
So what have you said about it?
Well, I think it's already covered in there. So we would support it.
Nothing to add. Yeah.
Yeah, so I guess the two that we've got is just consider shared collections for medium and high density areas.
Yep.
And about the adverse effects from the
organic
waste energy and the organics. Yeah.
I think I've got the shared collection points in there, but not.
Yeah, that one was for glass specifically, I thought.
No, in general.
No, I mean, the comment.
My comment was for glass here.
The context in which that was mentioned in this document is as a response to the glass question.
No, there was a separate one at the end where it talked about medium high density, looking at solutions like, let's say you've got, I don't know, development with 20 people in it. Would you have just one big bin instead?
Right. As I call where it's written in this mission draft is.
Yeah, they don't ask it in here for some reason, but it's in the
Incorporated again in the appropriate place.
Yeah.
Yep, so send it through.
Basically mention it twice, which is, I think,
Yeah. Thank you. Well, it will also go some way towards resolving concerns around that.
Yeah.
As well. Yeah, excuse me.
Can I just add one quick thing? Might
Go
be
ahead.
of interest. Public rubbish bins could be divided better into, glass, organics, blah, 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 like they do overseas.
And at the mall, Sarah, actually, don't they?
Yeah, they do
Oh,
have
do
that
they?
in the city center. In the city center, pedestrian and casual street pedestrian. Well,
That's just yellow and
yeah, there's the rubbish, the red rubbish and the glass.
So
they come in the
Okay.
bins.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
all right. Maybe they're already doing it.
But I
wanna add to
think that one is in the city. I don't know, in the suburbs, they don't have that.
So we will be put that.
No, they've
Well,
got it
maybe
already.
where there's high use bins.
I guess something like investigate using the paired yellow and red bins for areas where it's already high use or something like that.
Yeah. Oh, there
Yeah.
was, it's already in there. So Sarah, what they were basically saying at the end is they had a list of like 20 options. I don't know why they're only consulting on like 3. I think because it's just to not overwhelm people. But yeah, basically said like that Williams Court one, for example, down Amy's Road, instead of them each having, a green bin and a red bin, imagine what it will actually look like. It would be quite silly for 31 units. What's that? So 62 bins. But like you won't even be able to have a bus. The bus
Yeah,
won't even be
correct.
able to park.
So-
there
I
or
did hear that it was more about public bins.
Yeah.
Around the city.
Oh, okay.
Division
Yeah,
within public waste bins.
So
actually
so they do have it in city center. I don't know about the rest of,
Yeah,
not in the suburbs.
I think Sarah's suggesting high use bins in parks and other places could be.
But when the parks are litter-free parks.
But houses are getting smaller. When I've been on consent panels in the past, they're getting 7 units on 1/4 acre now in Spraydon. And that's one I remember. And there's very little space to put these bins too. And then you get them on the road, and they're all small units in one street. It used to be different. So,
so we've covered that off, I think.
Yes, we've done enough on that. But
We still need to do Head Start. We should probably.
Cool. That's good. Thank you for incorporating that.
Head Start. First question is, do we want to do a deputation or not?
I think yes.
I think we probably
Yes.
We should probably discuss it
We
first.
always do that, and then we can.
Yeah, if we can't.
We should discuss it and then agree if we're going to do a deputy.
At the time, you could decide.
Well,
I think we can agree now that if we agree on something.
Suggestion is that
I agree with that.
right. My suggestion on the deputation is that we just don't touch on the options, but we emphasize the need for the local voice, the community boards, or whatever form it is. It's just that we focus that there is a need for the local voice to be heard, and that community boards are functioning well, and that we push for it, and that's what we focus on. Unless you want other stuff.
Get quite into the weeds, and I think we just need to bear in mind, like when we did a submission to ECAN, that we're only talking about really our sort of community board area. So if I'm thinking in that context, who's really actually most impacted by it is actually Hornby and Halswell. To some extent, it's actually Hornby more. And if I'm thinking about specific issues, so if I think about quarries, for example, where we had a quarry who was not allowed to take water from Hornby, and then at one point started trucking it in from Selwyn, a couple 100 meters down the street, is just absolutely stupid to me. So I think if we're looking at it from that perspective, if we would just have unitary council, for example, it would not actually solve that challenge, for example, and that's just one challenge that we have. So I think from that starting point, we can't even almost consider that. So then,
So
we need to consider some other options.
we would agree with unitary council or council with ECAN functions, but what we won't be able to agree on is the boundaries of
That's what I'm
that.
saying. If we
Yeah.
have the same boundary today, we'll still continue to have that issue.
But so anyway, so that's what I was getting onto, that we will have difficulty with that. So we'll just focus on just the local voice, the requirement of the local voice.
I think so.
I agree.
Because there's going to be unification of some sort.
Yeah, that's
and
Yeah.
It's, we can't.
And council will make a decision on that proposal.
We're just looking at.
So we just make sure that our local voices are going to be heard at in some way, in some form, whatever this unitary council is going to look like.
I think it's worth acknowledging that, legally speaking, the unitary can't have community boards and has local boards instead.
Local boards, yeah. So
And
it's actually a plus, though.
It depends on how many there are. If you get loads and loads and loads like Auckland, they're basically neutered. But if you get, a decent area covered with no boundary conflicts, for example, the Auckland ones got set up in ridiculous ways with rivers, for example. So if they had to deal with water, then they were basically paralyzed. But I think the core thing that you take away from that, right, is that we would want a form of continuity, or it would be good for residents to have a form of continuity between their current form of representation and whatever comes afterwards. So I think
that's a good point.
Yeah, so I think that would be
They won't have this issue of intensification though as much. So
some areas,
Selwyn and Waimak are going to be
they're
more,
actually
more
zoned
suburban.
Some parts of Rolleston are zoned higher than Riccarton.
True.
They're actually zoned for much more high density than we are in Christchurch. In Rolleston.
And when but
in the town centre.
Selwyn and Rangiora and Waimak and more suburban stuff.
No, they're not.
Present.
No, but they're actually zoned for more. They're actually building.
I know they're zoned. Yeah.
Because their solution has been to have a smaller, more concentrated high density area with a lot of lower density around it, whereas we've tried to more evenly spread it.
And remember, we've got a high number of people from other countries in Riccarton and Hornby, and to some extent Halswell actually. So we've got a high ethnic population who aren't so used to certain things.
Oh, you're talking about the way of living.
I've had someone who's contacted me, and no one tells them anything. They just arrive and off they go. So something yeah, anyway, I think we're different at present to Selwyn and Waimak, but it's my view. I should do a
just
drive around probably.
Right. I just have a general comment here that decisions should be made at the lowest level of government that is capable of dealing with them effectively.
So I've put here that the board considers that any amalgamation proposal put forward by the council retains the principle that decisions should be made at the lowest
level.
Yeah, that's
I think
good wording.
it's good to mention that lowest level should be capable of exercising that ability.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you end up with situations where, for example, every single meeting might have to be a Dean's Ave joint meeting.
So, yeah, local communities should make decisions that primarily affect them.
Yeah.
Can I just jump in terms of process, because it's not a submission per
It's
se.
not.
Marie obviously was speaking to this, so you guys continue with this conversation. Faye and I will make notes that we'll then share with Marie, who will draft up the deputation.
So it's the deputation, it's the speaking. That will be circulated and.
Okay.
So we're not going to put up on a Word doc and write the script, right? But so just at the end, if we can.
But I think the first thing.
Excuse me, I'm going to have to go at 8:15. So are we able to actually do?
We want to go already.
Amalgamation issue.
Well, I think that's the point, Helen. Does the board want to say that they support amalgamation in any form that the council thinks best? Do they want to come out and bet for a particular thing as the proposal that was discussed earlier?
I think I agree with Marie that we should acknowledge it and then move on.
Yeah.
And I think too, I had a talk with Marie. I think we might have a range of different views on how to amalgamate. But I just think, what did we say? We wanted
the local
community voice,
probably local community voice,
an enhanced community board, as per Auckland.
Yeah, I mean, if argue the pros and cons for all of them, in my mind at least, the key things is that we consider the environment, particularly natural.
The thing is, I think I read somewhere in the website, the pros and cons come in at the second stage, the design stage. I thought, and that was what I was thinking, shouldn't it come at the first stage?
Exactly.
But yeah, it was there, and it says in the second stage, the pros and cons. So this is just the overall.
Yeah, the only thing that really changes is the environment, right? And the geographic area.
And the boundaries,
So to some extent, we care less about what that actually looks like and if it's actually going to deliver the outcomes. Are we going to have, better air quality in Hornby, for example? Are we going to have issues with water being contaminated or something to that effect? What will actually drive the best outcome for that? That's the priority. And then I would have concerns around what's deliverable and at what cost, because
and I think that comes in the design stage.
Debatable.
And that's certainly there at council, Charles, this morning.
So you're saying, Cody, a key consideration is.
I mean, I think we have to avoid, because I've got a very strong view on this. I believe that we should go with option 3, which is the amalgamation of Selwyn and Waimakariri.
And
Huranui. But that won't be shared. I think council's a bit split on it. So rather than get tangled up with that, I think we just need to say we want the community
the local
to be there still, possibly enhanced, and a strong local voice.
The council decides to propose.
And it would happen to Selwyn. And
I think regardless of what they propose.
Regardless of what they propose, we want the local community voice
to have possibly an even stronger voice. As they do in Auckland, they do a wider range of things in Auckland.
And I just wanted to go back to something that you said, Cody, which was because you mentioned decisions being made by SCC currently that have knock-on effects for Hornby in the CCC area. They don't have community boards, or at least we don't border any of their community boards. They have them elsewhere, I think, but we don't border them.
Selwyn, I think they have one community.
They only have one community board.
Melbourne or something.
Which is it's very weird, because if you would think, so we do a rip review.
Or potentially do a rip review.
I mean,
or DIA does it.
Yeah, so the urban area of Rolleston, for example, is it now a community board? You know, and then
Yeah.
will it be like the Melbourne Hornby? I don't know.
So I think it's worth
It is quite
us
unusual.
mentioning something. I don't know what form the remark would have to take, but it would be about how we wouldn't want to lose out on that local level of representation to extend SDC's current form or something like that. Because if they extend their no community board form out into more of Hornby, then I take it you would probably consider that to be antithetical to
No.
Hornby interests.
There won't be local voice at the lowest level, which is what we're trying to.
Yeah, but I think it's worth specifically mentioning that that's how we could get a bad outcome.
The difficulty for Selwyn and Waimak, if this model happens, is that they will lose their council status, isn't it?
Yeah, all the councillors are probably
At
not.
the personal level, they'll have to become board members, probably, and a chairman.
Happened
of
in
the
all.
board.
Yeah.
I presume that.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes, so we'd advocate for that, but whether, I don't think they are happy with that. They seem to want to do their own thing. But I don't think government will actually accept that, actually. I don't.
Yeah.
I don't think so. If we put forward our proposal, the council doesn't do a proposal and we just say all we can do is advocate strongly for the local voice through an enhanced community board, which will include Selwyn and Waimak. If they decide,
we won't mention that. But I think one other thing that I would like to point out is that community boards or local boards should have meaningful decision-making powers rather than acting solely in an advisory role.
Yes.
Yeah.
So we should have
That's the key distinction between community and local boards.
Yeah.
And we could say that
I didn't know that.
example of a unitary authority with community boards that have enhanced powers.
Well, their community boards have the same.
Yeah, so they seem
the
to
local
have,
boards have bigger ones.
they have more if you like.
But it's a difference.
They've got two community boards, as I recall.
In effect, it's different.
Yeah.
But it's how it's here. Yeah.
But we haven't heard anything about how they're going to change the
Some
fact
of
that
this.
unitaries have locals and community boards.
Locals.
Yeah, but we can't change it. So I don't think it's worth
Ones that I
discussing too
read.
much
I
the
read
difference
this.
between community and local boards.
This one, they said yes to that.
Because what matters is
that's
the decision-making powers and the ability to represent, not,
I think we're
legal
restricted. Yeah.
The other thing Cody just said, and I just wondered if you wanted to incorporate just something, a line like this, is that a key consideration in any proposal must be environmental gains that will be achieved via the amalgamation. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Or whether environmental gains will be achieved?
Because it's not just environmental is the consideration.
Cost saving as well. I mean, reportedly,
There's a lot of it that needs to be considered.
It's got to be, I mean, they're going to have to get an amalgamation, if you like, that focuses on ECAN too, aren't they? So the ECAN roles.
ECAN is automatic to every
fitting in properly. I can't see how they can fit into the city council on its own. That's the bit I can't see. And I've rung the ECAN chairperson, haven't got a call back, because I can't see how that happens. If you just have Christchurch on its own, how do you fit the ECAN roles in?
Oh, no, it'll go to the others.
Within Christchurch.
It's only
How would that?
No, if it's Waimakariri, then they will also have their own ECAN function.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
if we're all separate, then
we'll all
ECAN will have
within our area.
Everyone's got their own
I don't know how you do it, but anyway, it's not but I can't see how it fits as easily as having a larger council.
Well, council with air and water discharge.
Yeah, all that.
They actually discussed this in the Royal Commission report on Auckland. It is doable.
It is, yeah.
So perhaps, Cody, if we talk to key considerations need to be gains in environmental terms as well as.
I agree with that, yeah. About fitting, having councils where they fits in with the ECAN requirements currently, to be departed ECAN requirements for air. There's air and water, there's probably other things, public transport. There's a number of things that they do which don't make sense if we just stay as a separate council. I don't think, but anyway.
We could do it.
Sorry?
We could do it.
But I think all of that is covered by Marie's remark that
we're not
it's about the lowest level of.
I'm not really touching on it because it's.
I just think it's all.
And the councillors will actually decide.
The lowest level with the meaningful decision-making powers.
Yeah, I think it's all implicit in that remark, so I think that's covered.
And I
We
realise.
just need to expand on that on the deputy for 5 minutes.
But one thing that I think our community board is unique in is that we bought a SDC. I mean, for example, Banks Island, right there in Ireland, effectively, or Waipapa, they bought a different district council. So I think it's worth mentioning at least that this community board borders an area without community boards, and that we would like to see a structure of this kind continue.
If you want to get more prescriptive, you could probably say that the current boundary with Selwyn, at least, because Waimak almost doesn't matter because it's not in a board area, does create challenges, at least from an environmental perspective, let alone from a transport perspective.
Yeah, and I think that's worth mentioning. Again, regardless of what council proposes, just that we acknowledge that the border with the SDC can cause issues.
Yeah.
And I think they'll take a vote on it on Wednesday.
Before the 9th.
Yes.
No?
So
Yeah.
Deputations on Tuesday.
So what I was thinking about, Joseph putting in was that the board do not want to see a model of any neighbouring amalgamated authorities prevalent over existing structures.
CCC structure.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
For local decision making or something like that. Is that?
Yeah, gotcha.
Yeah.
I'd agree with that.
You're talking about the boards here, are you? Rather than
Yes.
rather than boards.
Would rather have boards than no board.
We're not welcome. We're not suggesting to replicate Selwyn's model.
Selwyn's model.
Yeah, just thinking.
We're suggesting they
Because if
would.
SDC demotes themselves to a board, then they might, you know, God knows what they would do.
It's a very funny process. The last time amalgamation happened, what I remember, I wasn't linked with local government, but they had 2 public servants who went around the country and talked to councils, and took a year or so. But it was starting to make kind of too tied up with tribal politics.
Some stuff in the, but it's
Do we
just
want-
mainly focus on the local community voice.
Yes, I think so.
Meaningful decision making.
Do we want to make mention of this time frame and how it's?
That's been problematic.
Yeah.
In terms of being able to
problematic,
consult people properly and so on.
Yeah, it's just too much too
Very
soon.
rushed.
And what's the rush?
It's too
Like-
rushed.
Well, it's Chris Bishop's rush. So
Yeah, I know,
it's
but
like-
it doesn't. It's not
I mean,
justified.
we could say we're concerned that this has been done with too much pressure.
Yeah.
On the time.
Under duress.
I think it's acknowledging it because this is a dictation to.
I think it's terrible.
It's not, it doesn't mean that council.
We could ask council to register our discomfort with this and pass it on. Which I think that would be a good idea, actually, that we ask council to note that we're upset by it and pass that upstairs.
If they'd given
The
them more
community.
time, it would have been different, I think. But I just feel, and why he's doing it, I thought, why is Bishop doing this? He's got an election to try and win. And here he is making a deadline so quickly and through asking people what they want. I suppose that's okay, isn't it? It just doesn't seem organised to me.
Well, we'll see what happens after the election. He might not stick with it as written. He might change his mind about parts of it.
Okay, so we're all good on that. We will
What have we got?
we'll draft something up. The speaking,
And to be clear, Marie, you'll speak to it.
yes.
Thank you.
Sarah, would you want to
Let's do that offline.
offline?
Yeah.
Right, they'll do that offline.
Again, we stick to this.
Yeah, we are speaking to it.
Good.
Yeah.
And then if we change our mind, we change our mind.
Right?
No.
We're not taking final
Decision accepted.
Yeah, let's speak. I mean, we could always.
Yeah, okay.